This is a caucus of the Jersey City Municipal Council. We had a 5:30 p.m. start. It is 5:37 p.m. per my phone. And again, I hope all of you will silence yours. To make things simple, we have all council members here, excepting Councilperson Ridley. At 5:37, Council President.
Here.
I'm not going to take attendance.
Okay.
We're just noting the absence, or maybe temporary absence, of Councilperson Ridley. Everyone else is here, so take it away.
Okay, great. Just for the benefit of those people who might be here for the first time, the normal order of business here is that we go through the items on the agenda, and the city municipal employees and professionals for the city who are here, I bring them up to discuss different items that they may have some involvement with, or that they're here to discuss and answer questions about. And if you're not with the city, then we will go through the entire list of things and ultimately get to your item at some point, if you have a tax abatement or some other item here on the agenda. With that being said, let's start with 10O.
We have Lori Disbrow here.
And Chris Foster.
Yes.
Great.
One of the consultants for the fund.
Great.
Very good.
And in terms of order, just for clarity for those who are here again for the first time, in terms of order, try to put the folks with the fewer items at the top of the agenda, so they don't have to be here until the very end for one item, and then kind of work our way through that. Okay? Lori, hi. Chris, take it away.
Yeah, so I'll explain a little bit about it. So this resolution is asking the council to approve the city's deferred compensation plan provider. 20 years ago or so, the city took on this voluntary program. It's zero cost to the city. This is strictly an employee-based fund, contributions. It's in addition to their pension plan. So it's a 457 plan. People can make voluntary contributions out of their paychecks. Not everyone does it. A lot of people do. And, it started a long time ago. I forget the name of the vendors way back when. Copeland was like the initial, City Street. Prudential has been the current provider since 2000. We have a deferred compensation board. Members are appointed by the mayor. They manage the funds where stuff's invested, or where it can be invested. Each employee has a choice of how they want their money allocated within the available funds. There are fees involved with the groups that, right? There are fees involved, right? Yeah, so there are fees involved. So what happened now, there was an RFP out there, multiple vendors responded to it. The deferred comp board took those proposals, did an analysis, brought a few of them in, and therefore they're coming today and recommending that the city continue with its current provider of Prudential services to manage this 457 plan. Lori, by statute, I'm the plan administrator, but that is too much work for one person with my other duties. Lori is my designee, and Chris Foster is from Procyon Partners. It's a consultant that kind of is an expert in Wall Street, and all the, our advisors. So they kind of serve the board as an advisory, give us advisory opinions. And with that being said, I'll allow the two of them to give you a little more details on what we're doing today.
They've been around a lot longer than 2000.
That's for Denise.
Oh, Denise?
They just gave you, I'm sorry.
No, Prudential's had the accounts since 2000.
Yeah, it started with Copeland back in the day, if you remember.
No, I said Prudential had the account starting in 2000.
Most of the fund is made up of the police and fire employees' funds, but so there are police and fire on the board, there are civilians on the board, and Lori is the plan administrator on our behalf, and they're recommended today that we go again with Prudential to continue the services.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Chris Foster. I am the retirement plan advisor for the deferred compensation plan. As Lori and Bob had mentioned before, we've had the privilege of working with the city for a number of years. We recently undertook a formal evaluation of the plan to properly benchmark the fees, which are 100% paid by the plan participants themselves, as opposed to the city. That benchmarking analysis solicited formal proposals from 7 qualified vendors. 6 of the 7 vendors opted to respond, and through that process, we determined that the incumbent, Prudential, who has had the account for now 17 years, is and continues to be the lowest cost provider, also continues to provide a very positive service experience for the employees and the administrators. We also invited another vendor in to come and make a formal proposal presentation over the course of 2 hours, where we evaluated their service personnel, technology offering, and position within the marketplace, and through that process concluded that the incumbent Prudential represents the most qualified provider to continue administering the plan going forward. Again, the least expensive, represented a reduction in cost versus their prior contract to the tune of about $35,000, and was less expensive than the next closest proposal to the tune of about $85,000. So with that high-level summary, we'd be more than happy to answer any questions that you might have relative to the process and our recommendation to retain the incumbent vendor.
Again, this is no cost to the city, Jersey City. It's strictly an employee-driven fund. Rich Appaluccio.
Rich Appaluccio.
Are you from, work in this building too?
I do not work in this. Oh,
Me? No, I work at 394 Central.
She's a city of Jersey employee. She works for us. She's in our pension office.
Prudential, which I want to bring to him, where they sent me a large check back saying that they took out too much money. I've been involved with it for about 30 years with the police department, and I think that was wrong. I mean, Prudential should have known what was going on, and they were taking too much money. Yeah, I have the letter at home. I'll bring it in. I was going to.
Yeah, talk to Rich.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll look into that
Work it
for
out.
you.
Any questions related to 10L?
Sure, a couple. One, does your company have any financial relationship with Prudential?
we do not.
Okay.
We act as a fiduciary to the city of Jersey City, and we have no direct financial ties to Prudential.
Great. Is there a way that you can share that analysis of the different fee structures with us? Because I'd love to just take a look at sort of, and just understand not just that Prudential was lowest, but how do they relate to other options that are out there?
Absolutely. That's a detailed analysis that we provide to the deferred comp board. Be more than happy to share it with you.
Councilman James Solomon, and they say we're going to save $35,000, but save $35,000 based on which companies or annually they're going to save $35,000. What is it? And also, when I see that the documentation, they say other additional service charge will be reduced. So I'd like to know which other service charge is going to be reduced, how much will be, so those kind of things we should provide to us so we know exactly what we're talking about,
Absolutely, and I'd be prepared to address that right now if I may. So the cost savings is an annualized figure. It is not a one-time cost savings. It is a cost that is amortized over the Jersey City participant accounts within the plan. There are roughly 2,000 accounts representing about $210 million in assets today. So on a per-person basis, the cost savings are obviously modestly smaller, but in aggregate is $35,000 a year.
So $35,000 is for 2,000 people's.
Correct.
Correct, not the individual.
Correct.
It's not going to be happening else. I just say that.
And just keep in mind, this is a 457 plan. It's similar to a 401K, but it's for governmental workers. So, and also, we went to providers that work in the governmental space, because it's a different process to administer a 457 plan that is a 401K plan. So that's why we chose Prudential, and not just why we chose Prudential, but chose the people we sent this RRFP to. We didn't just send it to everybody.
It's like a Roth IRA.
It's like a what?
Roth IRA.
It is not like a Roth IRA. We have no Roth provision currently in the plan. We are looking into it. But right now, we do not have a Roth. This is before tax.
And the other one is, when I see the documentation, the basic service reference Part 3 fees for service, but I'm looking for Part 3 was not provided. It's just, the documentation. It's fees for service, yeah. Pays. This one. Yeah, on the paper they say that the basic service charge referenced in Part 3, fees for service of the service agreement is hereby reduced to $54. But in other words, the $54 is going to be reduced per person.
Part 3 is, we used to pay 72 per participant, right? So we're amending the service agreement. The current service agreement that's in place, we pay $72 per participant. That is being reduced to 54. So when that says, that's all the Part 3 is saying, that is replacing. This new Part 3 is replacing the old Part 3. Because we already have a contract existing with them, we're really just amending the service agreement. And just as for information, the state of New Jersey uses Prudential for their deferred comp plan and their DCRP plan. They did an RFP about a year and a half ago and retained Prudential.
Any other questions for Lori or Chris? Hearing none, thank you. Thank you both.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Next, we have Charles Mays Jr., and it's a late item, correct? I'm not sure. The lead grant. Oh, it's not a late. Okay.
It's L.
10L, it's not late. It's 10L.
So, it's not late. Quiet down, please.
Excuse me, would you send to all the council members that the document is so we can share? Okay, good.
10L is a resolution authorizing the City Department of Health and Human Services to accept funds from the State of New Jersey, Department of Health and Senior Services, Division of Family Health Services for the provision of child health services. We have Mr. Mays here for 10L. You're on.
Hi, my name is Charles Mays Jr. I'm from the Department of Health here. I run the Bureau of Healthy Homes, which is also the lead clinic for child prevention. We were recently awarded, this is a supplemental grant to the money we already get from the state to run the program. We had an additional $704,583 for a 6-month period. The name of the grant that we were awarded is the Childhood Lead Exposure Prevention Project. It's a 3-year project that covers the state of New Jersey. It's worth $10 million, and the money is awarded to need whatever municipality. As you know, the lead issue is a lot of lead issues going on, especially in our city. I'm one of the lead inspectors as well, and this is triggered from the recent lowering of the blood lead level for a child to have intervention. And not only do we cover, as far as environmental, we cover Jersey City, but in the case management portion, we also cover the Hudson County. My nurses cover all the municipalities. So this grant was created to increase screening, intervention, and basically cover staffing. Now, I think you have here, the amount was changed. It was actually adjusted a little bit from the state. It's 704. It's not 698. If you have that there, I don't. It's 704 on yours? Okay. If you have any questions about what we do and how we do it, just feel free to ask me. But also, I would like to say that the screening radius, it used to be from 9 months for a child to 6 years old. Now it's from 17 years old down. So our caseload is going to explode. So, excuse me? 9 months still 9 months. 9 months, yes, I'm sorry, yes. Case management, which we monitor each child and we educate, we monitor the monthly blood testing to monitor the lower lowering or anything like that. We've had cases where, I can't get into details, but we've had cases in Jersey City where a child was damaged by lead, and that was one of my cases. So it's interesting that, you know, Jersey City is a pretty old town, and there's a lot of renovation going, and it's blind. It hits you blindly. Sure.
So how we can get the people just get the benefit out of that program? We have to be in contact with you guys, or you guys do that the lead testing at schools?
We will go out. Right now, we would be WIC in our immunization clinic. Then we're going to start getting into probably the schools. Once we get the staffing to do so, we do the lead testing and we follow up until the.
Lead testing where? At the school.
We can WIC and immunization clinic in Jersey City. It's free testing.
Free testing. So in other words, in order to get the service, the people have to stop by WIC program, or they have to stop by Health and Human Service.
Right, but
correct?
we still get, if those who are insured, we still get the cases from the state. So, all right, a child goes to get a lead test. The pediatrician sends the results to the state. The state therefore trickles it down to us. If it's lower than 5, we don't get it. If it's between 5 and 9, we do education first. If it's 2 consecutive blood tests of 5 to 9, it's a case. We've gotten case just from when they changed the lower the lead level.
Councilman, any doctor can order a lead test,
Yeah.
you know, based on.
But I mean, when you go to the doctor's office, you know, they have to pay. But they have a program is available by grant. Then let me ask this one. My next neighbor, they have a 5 months old baby. There's parents like to have some lead test for children because she live in 150 years old apartment. What she have to do? She have to contact with you, what Health and Human Services, how they work.
Our cases are triggered from the state. If she's insured, she has to go to her doctor. If she's not insured, she comes to us.
Okay.
So once the lead test comes back, the lead blood level is deemed within our range, we go and create, if it's education, if it's we need to intervene, we are. That's our case within Jersey City.
There's no other way for them to find out. Based on the WIC program, I think that's what he's trying to get to. How would the mother know that she can find you guys? There's no advertisement. How would she know?
We will have flyers
That's what I'm
out.
saying.
We will have. We can do flyers. We can advertise in the newspaper. We will now with these funds. Yes. Yeah, with these funds. Yes.
So let me ask you this one then. Pregnant woman moved to Jersey City Heights, 150 years old apartment. Before she have a baby, she want to make sure that the lead test at her apartment. She can qualify to, no?
This is for children. Children that are deemed lead burden.
They can have tests, but they have no prevention program to pregnant women to avoid any exposure self-delay.
No, we don't. It does not cover that. It's just basically for children in need. Children in need, now it's from 9 months to 17 years old. So any child can get tested if they're uninsured.
I understand the lead testing program, but more like a PRO-Act to prevent any newborn child so and so that the lead issue, that if the pregnant woman able to ask that the Health and Human Services check my apartment.
No, it's for the patient.
It's been like this for years. It's only because if that were the case, we wouldn't handle it. I don't think anyone can handle that.
What are the symptoms?
Excuse me?
What are the symptoms? Why would how would a parent know that?
Yeah.
Some do it for school. Some just parents just these tests. They do it. They may see. Okay, this is my opinion. Have you ever heard Ritalin years ago? Children with Ritalin with nervous conditions. Okay. Those nervous conditions could be triggered by lead. You see irritability, inability to speak or reach milestones as a child. Those are symptoms that lead had slowed down. You know, I get a lot of calls about water, the lead in the water, and Jersey City water is fine. It's not the water, it's the building that it's tunneled off to. The old buildings, the old caps, and all that other things are the lead issues that are at hand.
And I can just add something to that. When the CDC dropped the blood level down from 10 to 5, part of the reason they did that is people can show symptoms, but it's damaging even at incredibly small levels. Right. So that's why the blood tests are so important. And so what I wanted to ask you is, with this grant, how many more people and kids do you anticipate being able to screen? Because I mean, the last time I looked at the numbers for Jersey City, I think it was around only 40% of kids had gotten screened, and the kids who are probably more likely to be poisoned are less likely to be screened.
Right, but that was for 10. Level of 10. Right. I'm gonna just give an example up until this date. From September 18th, right? We had 139 cases from September 18th till now, which is one of the largest in the state. We had 139 cases of children with these lead issues. It's going to increase because the first test is deemed as education. The second test clarifies that they have a lead burden. So now it becomes a case. And those children who took those testing, say in September, maybe by next month, all of them become cases. So it's going to increase.
And not just the cases, though, I get that.
Mm-hmm.
Just the number of kids screened, because
right.
It's more important to catch these
We're going to
kids.
go out there and further, educate and test, but they still come into the clinic.
Right. I guess what I'm saying is that in 6 months, when this grant runs out, there's only a 6-month grant.
No, it's for 3 years.
Okay, 3 years. So what I'd love to see at some point in the process is how many more kids are you serving because you got this money?
Right.
And so then we can make sure that it's being used effectively
Right.
because this issue is so important.
Right.
Does that make sense?
That makes
So I
sense
don't know exactly what the reporting structure looks like, but it's something I'm just
It's
personally
something
invested in.
I can put together.
And this is statistical data we present to the council during the budget process, so you'll see what they did last year, and then every year you'll see how it increases.
And also, too, since it's a grant, there's certain deliverables that you're going to be held accountable to, yeah?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Everything
And
you
so-
put in there, it has to be accounted for.
Any other questions? My one question is, your grant period ends June 30th.
Right.
So you gotta spend down $705,000 in 6 months.
In all actuality, combined with the money we got prior to, being this is a supplement, it's $898,000. And so it's a large amount. And this is only for it's gonna probably be, I would say, about the same for the next coming fiscal year. I have to calculate the numbers. It should be the same.
Thank you, Charles.
You're welcome.
For the lead test.
You can call 201 547. You can call 5267. 67. That's right. But we'll just get a flyer out and distribute it.
547-5267. Okay. Thank you, Charles. Okay, Rodney, you're up. Rodney has a late item. It's 10Z6, discharge of mortgage affecting 211 Monticello Avenue.
Yes, this is a late item. This is nothing out of the norm. It's clearly a discharge of a mortgage affecting 211 Monticello Avenue. The owner has resided in the property over 20 years, which was the first requirement of the agreement executed with the city. And then the second part of it involved the 95-5 language, where at the first non-exempt transfer of the property, the city is entitled to recapture 95% based on a formula. And so the city received $43,229. We've deposited a check, cleared, so we're now discharging the mortgage.
Okay, he's just here because it's a late item.
It's a late item.
For the newbies, can you introduce yourself?
It's Rodney Harrison, I'm Real Estate Officer for Community Development.
Nice to meet you.
Same here.
All right, thank you, Rodney.
Okay, thank you.
We've got Barca and Andrew. Both of you here for 10R? All right.
10R.
10R. Hold on one second. 10R is a resolution of the council authorizing the use of competitive contracting to award a contract for consulting services needed in connection with the development of a bicycle master plan project number 18002 for the Department of Administration, Division of Engineering, Traffic, and Transportation.
Good evening, Council. This item is for the authorization of competitive contracting to release an RFP to create a citywide bicycle master plan. In 2011, the city passed its complete streets policy, so this study and plan would be one step closer towards achieving the goal of creating a more bicycle-friendly environment in the city with a focus on safety, connectivity, and desirability. So we would expand the network of bicycle lanes and facilities we already have in the city and create an extensive network of proposed bike facilities throughout the city. I'd be happy to answer any questions on the draft RFP that's been provided.
Could you state your name?
Yes. Sorry, Barka Patel.
B-A-R-K-H-A.
Thank you.
So how many more parking spaces are you going to take away from the people?
About 20,000. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
No, we don't know yet, but you know, sometimes the removal of parking is part of one way of adding a bike lane to a street, but we just won't know until the project is.
About where they're putting these, I just had a woman giving it to me today because they took away a bunch of spaces in her neighborhood up in the Heights.
So
It's wrong.
There will be a robust community outreach effort as part of the development of this plan. Typically, we try to go to events like farmers markets or events that are happening at open houses at schools, things like that, to gather feedback from the communities that you know, where we are looking to add bike lanes. So they'll definitely have an opportunity to provide input.
The other questions you wanted to know is, how much are they paying us for all this space they're taking up? Are they paying us anything in the bike company?
City Bike.
I'm not familiar with that agreement, but I could look into that for you. Yeah, absolutely.
Not Andrew. So when before Bob came, so now, a couple of things I have to speak with Andrew, because the first things, thank you for your effort to put in the bicycle a plan for the master plan for the citywide. Thank you for that. So we put in the 2013 first plan, was it? 11 was right, and so 7 years later, review that the plans what we have, so it's a great idea. But now, make sure that they put in the city bike wrong place in the Sherman Place and the Kennedy Boulevard, and the people going crazy with that. If we just cross the Kennedy Boulevard, they have a park, mosquito park. I fight for 3 years, still they not move that. Come on, time to change that, you know, attitude, because why we have to take like a 3 or 4 parking space away from the neighbor? But if we cross street to Kennedy Boulevard, they have plenty of space. So Andrew, I'd like to help me that. And
Answer that. One of the components of this plan will be working with City Bike to make sure the places where the stations are located are the most efficient. Yes. And if they're not, we will work with City Bike to relocate them. And in regards to this specific issue, I'd be happy to reach out to the general manager and see if we can't do that sooner.
We asked for 3 years, everybody knows that they put the wrong place. Sure. Number one. Number two, Bowers and Central Avenue, Bowers Street from the westbound at the traffic light. You know, the traffic light, the green light provide only 15 seconds. Because of that, Bowers Street from Central, the traffic back up all the way to probably Webster and New York Avenue. And the last council meeting months ago, you promised us that January, you're gonna come up with a new plan to correct the problem, but only today is January 22nd. It's a time. Yes. You gotta do that, you know, so they were at least not the 15 seconds. Because of 15 seconds, if anybody pedestrian stay in the middle of the crosswalk, only lucky to pass 2 cars. You know, so there have to be minimum at least 30 seconds provide Bauer Street westbound, and I'm gonna see the change in 8 days.
You will see it.
You see, that's the problem, see, we'll see.
So let me piggyback on his stuff then.
First Street, light on Second Street and First Street, it's still the same problem as him. I guess it's not.
Sorry, which one was that?
The light on Marion First, Marion Second, and the light on Marion and First, they're not still same
I've
problem.
driven through there. I saw it improve. We made changes to all the signals on Marin about, I want to say, a month or two ago.
Maybe it went back to the whole, I don't know what happened, but it's truly back, that traffic on First Street backs up.
Yeah, you're
into-
talking about
into
the
Broadway.
left turn when you want to head northbound on Marin Boulevard. Yeah, it's difficult because I'll take another look at it, see if we can.
One of the Bowser, Central Avenue, Congress and Central Avenue, especially Congress Street, there were so many car accidents involved because of the traffic backup from the Congress Street, Central Avenue, all the way down to New York Avenue. When the car tried to move to east-west, south-north, they cannot see. So two places you urgently correct the problem. Other than that,
Could you state the two again?
yeah.
Could you just repeat the two again?
In Congress.
One of the Congress is Central Avenue, so Congress Street westbound and the Bauer Street and Central Avenue westbound the Bauer Street, the two places have to be increased. Any now on car accident involved because of that the traffic, I'm gonna blame the Andrew. So just want to make sure that.
Wouldn't be the only one.
Okay, now, second one is that Councilman Richie Bojana mentioned to that. When we give the city bike a contract, there's supposed to be some kind of profit sharing contracts involved. But what kind of profit sharing City of Jersey received from the city bike?
They have not turned a profit yet, so we have not received anything. Zero.
They continue doing business, right?
They gave us a report about 4 months ago, because you brought this up, and we got a report. I got a report from Brian Platt. At that time, it was still zero. Yeah.
So who is the auditor for that? We hired the independent auditor to look at their book, or we just based on follow what they present to statement?
It wasn't done by an independent audit. At this point, we still trusted their numbers.
Then you have a plan to hire independent auditor to look at their book. So, yes, and it costs for nothing for City of Jersey, right? They're supposed to pay for that.
That was part of the contract.
Yes. All right, good. Thank you, Bob Kay.
Any other questions for Martha?
How long do you anticipate this process taking?
It will be a 12-month-long study. We will use capital funds from the Department of Engineering's budget.
Okay, and so 12 months from now, we should expect the results of the.
We expect the RFP to be released next week on the 31st, pending council approval, and so it will be 12 months from when the city enters into a contract with whatever consultant is chosen.
Okay.
So you're utilizing capital funds?
Correct. Yes.
Where's that coming from?
From the engineering's prior, from their prior the prior capital budget they haven't spent yet.
Okay. Because I was just in a meeting with the director of planning in terms of the whole master plan and saying it's not funded currently, and so.
The master plan can be funded by a 5-year special note. Okay. That's how you fund a master plan. Like the revow is funded. Master plan is funded the same way.
Okay. So when are we doing that?
When we're asked to.
It was asked last year during our budget hearings. I'm pretty sure that came up as a major.
We'll speak with Anicia when she looks to go forward with it.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you.
Please remind Joe Cooner about Newark Avenue, because God forbid a kid gets hit by a car or killed, there's gonna be a major problem in this city.
Yeah.
All right?
Please, thank God.
Andrew, I'm sorry, it's not the personal, we're not blaming you, but.
That's nothing to do with you, Andrew. It's the MUA.
I have Councilperson Ridley with us at 6:09 PM. Who's the next victim, Council President?
Arthur Williams. I apologize, Mr. Williams. I go off of these forms that are filled out, and so I didn't have a filled out form for you. So Arthur Williams is at 10I, Artie Williams. And it's a resolution approving the appointment of Arthur Williams as Director of the Department of Recreation. Folks, can you give Mr. Williams your attention and share a little bit about yourself?
My name is Arthur Williams. a resident of Jersey City via Bayonne, born in Bayonne, but lived all my life in Jersey City. I lived in the A. Harry Moore Duncan Projects, being raised there, attended William L. Dickinson High School, Jersey City State College, Seton Hall University, and my grad studies in both locations, St. Peter's and Seton Hall. I started working in the recreation when I graduated high school in 1975. I worked for recreation till about 1984, till I went into teaching full-time. I worked in the West Side Youth Center, and if I could just rewind, I started with recreation as a kid in Duncan Projects. 39 School was the recreation site, headed by Harry Alberts, the brother of a former councilman of the Jersey City Council, Mickey Alberts. And from there, I worked at PS 24 School as a rec leader. I worked in Audubon Park, I worked in Bayside Park, and a number of different locations in recreation under the various directors. I started my career in education in 1981. I worked as a pool sub at Snyder High School. Then I got a contract at Dickinson High School. Then I went into the administration as a coordinator for the 15 Together program back in 1999. The 15 Together program was an excellent youth mentoring program where it took rising 8th graders and we worked with those kids for 2 years until they became seniors. And I'm proud to say that a number of those students are members of the Jersey City Police, educators, and also working in the retails of Jersey City. I happened to run into one of the officers last week at the funeral, and he's on his way to be a sergeant. So that mentoring program kind of helped those at-risk students stay into school and further their education and careers. I currently sit in a position as Student Life and Services, where we provide services to students from grades K to 2. Some of the great programs that I established, we have a program where we have breakfast with the cop once a month in all the schools throughout the city for grades 6th, 7th, and 8th. I also do bereavement. Many of the council members can remember the student Patel up at PS 27 School that passed away, and it was a great program that the teachers and the Jersey City Police collaboratively together put on superheroes for this young man. Also, I work with about 60 nonprofit organizations. Once a month we meet, and it's called the Interagency Task Force. And we work with those agencies to provide services to our students who are in need of health care, Dress for Success, mainly for our seniors. Dress for Success come and do a workshop. We also have a program called the Game of Life, which allows the students to find out life skills. We have participants from 20 to 35 agencies. One example, a student came to me and he said he was homeless, not realizing it was a program, so I took out my pad and ready to give him the directions to get his home life straight with the Covenant House. And we do a lot of work with Covenant House for our homeless youth. And I welcome the challenge if you have any questions. I think, yes, I will be retiring. February the 1st.
What are your plans to outreach to the community just to let people know exactly what programs we have here? Because a lot of times, I know that we have a functionable recreation department right now, but I do hear a lot that we don't know. Especially in my ward, you know, in the city, we don't have computers, so to speak, a lot in each household.
My plan would be, in your ward, would be to open up youth centers in all the wards, where just to enhance on the programs that we currently have in recreation, but using a youth center as a catalyst where those youth and families can go to those centers and engage in the arts and enrichment programs and just get the message out via the churches, the schools, and a number of the social agencies throughout Jersey City, and to just spread recreation throughout the city. Councilman Robinson. Yes, sir.
Councilman Young? Mr. Williams, two questions. Sure. But I just want to piggyback on what you just said when you said youth centers in all of the wards. Yes. So I've been one of the councilmen that's been very engaged with the Department of Recreation in the past 4 years. And that's something that we've been trying to do, and because of capital funding, it's like impossible to do. So, I mean, my question is, based on your experience with working with, in looking at this department, the Department of Recreation for the past couple of years has been on an incline with not that many bumps in the road. Actually, it's been actually doing well. Sure. Do you have any immediate plans for improvement for the better? And if you do, I'd like to hear it. Again, only because since we have been moving positively for the past couple of years, you know, I'm interested to hear, you know, the plans that you have so that we can make it better.
Okay, two things. One, looking at a youth center and putting in a engagement employment for our youth. We have a summer program, but after that, there's no programs for the youth. So working with the malls, because there are seasonals, helping kids get jobs, number one. And while recreation, it's on the, as you stated. However, we need to look at the enrichment. We need to look at engaging our students, because in the last couple of weeks, I've been just reading at 16 years old, shooting and all that has to be addressed, looking at educating and putting in enrichment programs for the benefit of our kids and holding staff accountable.
Holding recreational staff accountable.
Correct.
Whatever I ask is not the personal. We just want to be, as council members, want to be putting it to the best person and the director of the recreation department. So now, let me ask you this one. I agree with your Councilman Donnie Rivera. The years ago, when you talk about the recreation department, they only knows like three things: football, baseball, and basketball. Actually, as one of the councilmen, that most people, we make sure that recreation department able to provide a more variety recreation for the after school. Actually, city did that. I'm going to give you a lot of things I disagree with the mayor, but one thing I agree with him 100% is that yes, he puts a lot of effort to increase a lot of variety after school programs, you know, place the kids go. Really, I give you some credit. I get you A+. Yeah, I'm going to get you A+. It's very good. But I see that department, when I look at it, it's a very, very important department in the city of Jersey City. Yes. But somehow leadership change every 2 years. They have no continuation, you know. And then when the new guys come in, there's not the program itself, but the leadership actually have to be restructure the manpowers. Correct. The whole confusings come down. So now, as you, as the candidate for the director's recreation, as your personal opinion, I'd like to hear that. What do you think is the problem, the current recreation department? And if you be director, how are you going to solve the problem? Not just give me that, we're going to put your so-and-so program. You know, so give us some more detail, you know, something we can feel it.
Taking the program and make it equitable across the city. In my opinion, I don't think recreation is equitable across the city.
Why?
Well, it would be up to the current staff there. Why?
What is your problem, you think?
Well, I don't, you said basketball, football, but there's a lack of really touching the student, the youth, touching the student, by establishing, one, a youth center that will be a catalyst for the other programs throughout the ward. Having a youth center will identify computer labs, skilled workshops, bringing in partnerships and collaborating with the colleges in and around Jersey City, as well as the Rutgers 4-H program, which runs a horticulture and just getting some city parcels of land to do planting, to getting the kids involved with healthy eating and healthy programs.
See, now, stop it and ask about itemized item. Those kind of things actually we discuss with the current director. But now key is that youth center, where we're gonna build, how we're gonna utilize in the city. So like even Jersey City Heights, we have a community center, 28 Patterson Street, senior community center. Even though we try to utilize that 3,000 square feet space, I fight for 4 years, still go nowhere.
Okay.
And then now, you say youth center means that how many hours they're going to be open, what time to what time, how are you going to provide the manpower? Give you some ballpark numbers, cost will be, how much will be.
It would be a collaboration with the Jersey City Public Schools that houses swimming pool, gym, and an auditorium for the arts. Yeah, they do now, but I'm saying we need to have a collaboration with the schools for a youth center. Back in '84, I ran the West Side Youth Center out of 39 School and PS 24 School. Number 8 school was a youth center back in 1984. So it's collaboration with the Jersey City Public Schools where it's not a cost to the city, just partnering with the Board of Education, number one.
That's the problem, because I looked at that program too. 84, there was then, this is now. Board of Ed, because they're underfunding, they are really have a problem, because as you know, 2017, they have a shortable fund. So like how many $1 million was it?
It was about $100 million.
Yeah, so even Board of Ed has a problem to open the school for the our kids, you know what I'm saying, after school program. So now you say, what is a Board of Ed, then who's going to pick up the tab? How are you going to be managed this?
Councilman, we will identify schools that are open till 6 o'clock. So they have the Casper program after school. They have recreation in some of the schools. So we would take the schools that are open till 6 o'clock and then have the Board of Ed, it's only 3 more hours of security, have that in kind, but it's all about collaborating because the Board of Education, it's their students, so it's that partnership that we have to establish.
Me, when the Board of Ed shows like a $2 million 2017, City of Jersey City actually put on the after school program as a in-kind service. We did already.
Yes.
We did.
Yeah.
We have a number of recreation programs inside of different schools.
That's like 14 schools that's open in Jersey City. For recreation. There's only 14 schools. But I'm saying additional to those 14 schools, that each ward would have a youth center, and that youth center will tie in programs and services for the well-being of our youth.
But you know what we have in change, Rick, when you keep saying youth centers, we've been trying to fight for youth centers since we took office, and it's always been a budget issue that we just can't build a youth center. We had to find a location. It was a whole issue involved. So that's why when you say center, we thinking of an individual building. We're not thinking about going back into a
I'm
school.
talking about collaborating with the Jersey City Public Schools, utilizing.
My point is that we're already collaborating with boxing program, with tennis program, with swimming program.
I'm saying we will enhance the programs by having a youth center secondary to what's already out there. But that youth center will take the kids and have workshops with them. Take the kids to the Hudson County Jail. Take the kids to Hudson County Community College in their STEM program, making it more vulnerable for our students. I'm not knocking out the programs that's currently in existence. I'm just saying what we just need to do in enhancing the programs for the welfare of our students. Because what's happening in Jersey City, as you all get, there's no place for our kids to go. There's nothing for the students. or the youth of Jersey City. But we would take that youth center and turn it into a youth center and family engagement where the families are involved, so we can clean up those street corners because those students will have a place to go. As well as...
If I may just add my 2 cents. So, I think with all past directors, they've come here and they've shared what their goals are and their aspirations inside of the role. It's a little getting into the weeds on like how you'll implement that and how you'll execute that. That's not necessarily this forum for that in that regard. There's certainly going to be opportunities for that with regard to budget hearings and the like. I'll express what I expressed at the last meeting when we had a number of director appointments, which is, and I share this, that the mayor generally should have his cabinet. Essentially, each department director is like a member of his cabinet in that sense, right? And unless there's something really, something that disqualifies the person from being there. Now, I know, as has been said, the Department of Recreation has been improving steadily over the past several years. And folks, members of the council, particularly returning members of the council, have a lot of pride and have a lot of affection for the current recreation director in that regard, and wanted to see that kind of progress continue. I don't think that's a reflection on you and your qualifications on this, but I think that's probably part of what's going on here right now. Is that fair enough to say?
You're nothing wrong. You probably are the most qualified person for that job. But as a council members, we want to make sure that the leadership is turnover is very high every 2 years. Other than recreation part, some director, this council maybe disagree, not happy with that, but we want to try to support them, continuation, the program to move until end of the mayor's term, so we can end of day accountability, so that's what was it. So we concern is that recreation part is a very important department that, and the change of leadership every 2 years, and I feel, I'm the only one, feel very uncomfortable that we now seems like a new director 2 years, he start off, take off the ground, now he tried to push, go up, but middle of the take off, change the leadership, then we're gonna go back to scale one, gonna start all over again, what I'm saying? Those things, who's actually get sacrificed? Our children, our kids. So if my personal opinion, if current director really he did something wrong, my personal opinion, I'm not feel comfortable change the leadership. Give them some opportunity to continue, move on, so continuation to provide service to recreation park for our kids. That's what it was, what I'm saying. Nothing wrong with that, what I'm saying. It's not a personal thing, anything like that, but
nothing personal. I could just add something about that. So, everyone's entitled to their vote on this, and however you want to vote. And but historically, the mayor has. As the resolution reads, every director serves during the term of the office of the mayor and until the appointment and qualification of a successor. So the mayor has that option when a new term starts to appoint a qualification. As I said, folks feel very strongly about whether it was someone else who served in the previous role, in the prior role, but this is the right of the mayor to be able to do that unless otherwise. And certainly you can vote however you want. You don't have to. You can I would say disregard, but you can just break with tradition on that sort of stuff historically. But for myself, I will adhere to kind of the tradition of this the spirit of this this process in that sense. And I think the last thing I'll just say is that if I in speaking with the mayor and the administration on this, that while recreation, and I think what I'm also hearing is that folks want you as director, if you should be appointed here, to continue to build on some things that are there and things that are existing there. And I think the mayor also is looking for, it sounds to me as well, the deepening of our ties and strengthening our ties in relation with the public schools, where there's been some disconnect there, and folks have expressed in the community around some disconnect around kind of whether we're really reaching some of the more challenging students in our school system, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You would say, what are to Council President's point, what are 3 specific programs in the current department you believe are on the right track, and how are you going to make them better?
Well, there's 3 programs.
Can you name 3 that you believe are going on on the right track? We've heard from all the council members that there are things on the right track, and how are you going to make them better?
They have their basketball program, they have their soccer program, they have flag football as well as Jersey City Recreation Football League. How to enhance those programs, we could do soccer with read and roll, where the kids are getting enrichment as well as they're playing. Basketball, they can earn there's drills in math for basketball. Just having that continuous and partnership with a lot of the local high schools. Because what happens is that the high school coaches, they come to recreation scouting out the good players. So tying that relationship with the Jersey City Athletic Department and recreation to enhance the students, so when they're going into high schools, they're being prepared for the next, for college, or even pros. I mean, we've had one kid from Jersey City playing with the Saints. We had Mr. Banks coming out of Curry Woods, played major baseball. Michael Corcoran played basketball. So just to name a few. And it would just be enhancing and just working with those students and just putting them in the right direction. Not only for the sports, but also giving them that plan B.
Yeah, my athletic career ended in college, so I appreciate that. But so what are then 3 programs that you think that are not particularly effective in the current department, and how are you going to make those better?
Well, I think as I said, the programs are not equitable across the city.
Which specific ones?
Let's say basketball.
Okay. But you just said, can you just say that's one of the good ones?
No, well, it's one, but with specific basketball. Not all the students are participating in the basketball.
Okay.
It's only 14 sites.
It's only in 14 sites, and they're
Yeah.
not geographically distributed across the city?
No.
So how are we going to?
In my opinion, by engaging with all the schools in Jersey City, all the students in Jersey City, and their families, so that the families will have an opportunity to see that kid run up and down the court. And and again, I think flag football, the football team, where baseball, I don't even know if they still have a baseball team. So just enhancing more of that, because, I mean, we have Yankee Stadium, we have the Mets right in our backyard. So we can begin to prepare our students that want to play baseball, or even basketball. We have Madison Square Gardens. So it's teaming up, the Giant Stadium, teaming up our kids and partnering with these industries to help nurture these kids on the straight and narrow, because they're lost in the prison system.
Other questions for Mr. Williams? No? Okay. Sir, anything you want? Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
What do we have? We have David Donnelly, Kevin McManaman, John Cantalupo. Gentlemen, they are here for, gentlemen, they're here for 10N. Sorry, I said gentlemen, council. These gentlemen are here for 10N.
N is a resolution of the City of Jersey City and the County of Hudson, State of New Jersey, securing the payment of principal and of and interest on the bonds or project notes to be issued by the Jersey City Redevelopment Agency, the agency, in connection with the Path Side project, and entering into a subsidy agreement with the agency and the City of Jersey City in connection therewith.
So for the newer council people, let me introduce myself. My name is David Donnelly. I'm the Executive Director of the Jersey City Redevelopment Agency. I have spent about 25 years in government. For one term, I sat where you sat. I've also been a special assistant for literally 3 different mayors, and actually did an internship eons ago in the planning department. So, so to begin with, yes.
Good evening. My name is Kevin McManaman, Scotland and Bauman. I'm bond counsel to the Redevelopment Agency.
Hi, my name is John Cantalupo from Archer and Griner. We are bond counsel to the city.
So this project is a project of historic significance in Journal Square. The Pass Side building is the old public service electric and gas building where they used to repair trolley trains. And in the Journal Square 2060 plan, this building was identified as a building of historic significance. It does not presently sit on any historic, and the term just went right out of my head. It does not presently sit on any historic register. However, it doesn't mean the building's not historically important, and we feel it's a building that's important to save for several reasons. But beyond that, it is also an opportunity. Hudson County Community College is presently in this building. They are planning on selling the building. We then reached out to them and said that the city is interested in creating a cultural arts and a regional cultural arts center in Journal Square. It's something we've been looking at for a long time. The county community college needs to sell the building sooner than later. So we needed to reach out to bond to buy the building. And this bond also includes us hiring a consultant of significance to put together a plan to create a museum that will be able to sustain itself. I think that's very important. What's also important is that this is in Journal Square, near transportation opportunities, so that it will attract people not just from Jersey City, but across the region. The price of this building is approximately $9 million. We're asking to bond. We are bonding at the agency for $10 million. That $10 million will help us pay the consultant and do some immediate maintenance on this building, which is needed. If you are not familiar, this building is the building that has the old historic awning on the front that's made out of glass and copper. It's a very expensive building to maintain. It's a building that, if we don't do something soon, we will lose that opportunity to maintain that building. And so the next thing is that the administration has asked us to move forward to create a path forward to create a culture. I won't say arts museum. I will say a cultural museum of significance to Jersey City and to the region.
Questions?
We are in negotiations on this building. We have a contract to buy it.
Was that your question?
Yeah, we have a contract to buy it.
The redevelopment agency has executed a contract to buy the property from the college.
So we have to bond, you have to bond in order to.
Yes, I have the bond to do this. I don't have to. It's like buying a house. You would not spend your entire budget on buying a house. You put a mortgage on, and that's what essentially this is.
So you will be responsible, redevelopment will be responsible for maintaining this building, the staffing.
And putting it together, and actually, but what we're hoping is that we bring in an entity to run it for us. That's why we're hiring a consultant. We've had 6 responses to our RFP, so we're engaging experts to come up with a plan to move this building forward, to bring in the proper institution that would be able to run this building.
You said hoping or?
Hoping, yeah.
Well, it's a poor choice of words. I apologize.
Run this building.
Yeah, it's going to happen that way. We're going to have somebody who runs this building. We're going to bring an institution that will run this building, period. There's no other way that this works.
Sorry. Go ahead. Do we already have any companies? You put out an RFP, right?
We put out an RFP. I have 6 consultants that have responded, and so the role of the consultant is to put together a plan to find an institution to come in to create a cultural museum in Journal Square.
They're not the ones paying the rent.
No, they are not.
Yeah.
But just so you know, the reason why they're coming before you today is that in the event they cannot make enough revenue to pay the debt service, it's going to revert back to the city to make up the difference. So we're going to have to do a budget appropriation each year to anticipate them not getting 100% of the revenue. So it'll be a budget appropriation in our budget for the next 20, 25 years to offset that revenue.
The state, the local finance board required this subsidy agreement for this to happen.
James Solomon, you have a question? No?
I do.
He can start.
Oh, gosh.
You start.
Feel free to
And it'll roll from the rest.
The first things I'd like to thank you to David Donnelly as a director of JCRA and the mayor put your effort to have the Jersey City Museum in the middle of the Jersey City's, transportation hub. I support 100%, and the councilman Richie Bojana crying for that museum in the General Square. His dream come true now. So, really great things. We lost the museum years ago, but now we bring back. So I really appreciate your effort, but we have to know what happened, the museum, what we had, why we lost the museum. Therefore, number one issue is a financial issue, was it? So we don't want to repeat the same problem in the future, So
I understand it, and my one response would be to that. That's why I'm bringing in experts, so that we don't repeat those same mistakes again.
Yes, so expert is expert, because under the Hillage administration before that, we bring up to several experts. Even we bring up a lot of talk about that. What is the problem with Jersey Museum? So expert, once they get the money from the Jersey City, end of day, the financial response are down to our side, not their side. But if we have that they're going to pay for, what they promise is that actually is different. If the consulting company is going to pay for difference, then fine. But unfortunately, it's not the case. So
the consulting company will not pay the difference.
That's
The,
what I'm
consult-
saying.
the consulting
That's why-
company, the consulting company is helping me find an institution that will be a sustainable museum in Journal Square.
JCRA, I'm going to try to repeat that too, so people, our public, they understand. JCRA going to purchase their building currently owned by Hudson Community College. So JCRA has no money to purchase, so JCRA as an independent autonomous agency, they're going to issue a bond, $10 million to purchase a building. But $10 million, we're going to spend $9 million purchase building, $1 million secure the building, and another items may be improvement inside to make a museum. There's a 3 items you guys want to spend. Good. Consulting, consulting, and also include consulting fees, bond counsel, like the guys next to left and right, these people we have to pay. So we understand, but now this city council have to know. Fine, we're going to guarantee to whatever JCRA bond, if JCRA is not able to pay bond for interest principal, then City of Jersey will be paid. That's what you need, okay? Great.
That's what you need.
So now, then our next question is that, how you guys are going to be paid, paid, that the principal and interest for bond without asking City of Jersey City? Then next question we come down to that museum. How are we going to run the museum to make a profit to pay their own operation expenses, and the plus make enough money to pay bond for principal and interest? So you ask us just to guarantee $10 million, but you didn't show us a plan how you're going to pay off the principal interest and operation expensive. So now, actually, as a businessman, everybody has a business sense, then you should come up with this council, plan have to come up both. Listen, council, if you approve the $10 million, based on our plan, we're gonna pay off $10 million a bond. This is the way, this museum company will be operated such a way, so they can have profit enough to make operation expensive, and they're able to pay so and so. If in case, if they're not able to pay, then council, you gotta weigh that at least $500,000 maybe. I just gonna put in numbers. City of Jersey City have to subsidize. Give us some numbers we feel comfortable. Just simple. Joyce Waterman, councilwoman, her son or children come down to ask her, Mom, I'm gonna buy $1 million house. But the bank has to guarantee. Can't you guarantee sign the paper? Then Joyce Waterman, next question ask her, good. Yeah, great. You're going to buy $1 million? Great, congratulations. But next question, how are you going to pay off your mortgage? Show me your plan. If that son or daughter, if not come up plan, then she's going to tell, listen,
no.
You not only lose that down payment, your house will be foreclosed. You know what I'm saying? willing to city council gonna be eat that, okay, councilman, to order to have at least 3 years, maybe we subsidize so-and-so. After 3 years, we will give us some feel comfortably prove that. Without that program, without introduce the plans, how you gonna do, just to ask us a blank check right under $10 million, I think none of the council member are gonna support it. I don't know, maybe some council person will do, but I think none of the people feel comfortable. So show me something.
I'm not asking for a blank check. Check is $10 million. It's not blank. It's a yes, it's a big check. I do not discount that. Number two, the building is worth far more than $9 million. So if there is a problem, that it is an asset. The JCRA is acquiring an asset that has value. That's number two. Number three, I have a $2 million letter of credit that I can draw down upon already that will help support this building to begin with. And that was number three. And number four, the other thing is the support of culture and arts has always been important to government. That's a decision you guys have to make, that if you're going to support culture and arts, that this is a project, I think, and I wouldn't come to you otherwise, that is important to get a museum back in Jersey City, a museum, again, of regional significance in an area where we may never have the opportunity to acquire property again. Jersey City, as we know, is booming. Journal Square is on its way. We may not be able to buy a property in Journal Square in the near future at this point. Okay, this is an opportunity that may pass us by. I cannot predict the future. I do know that Jersey City has lost historic landmarks before. We've been fighting over and dealing with the lows, and hopefully we're going to be dealing soon with the lows. Would it not be terrific to have bookmarks on both ends of Journal Square, both the lows and this potential museum? And so that's what I'm saying is like this cultural center. Therefore, you know, for instance, the New York Museum, which is a world-class museum, okay, okay, they have one of the largest Asian art collections in the world at the New York Museum. That museum is still supported by the state and the state of New Jersey and the city of Newark. So I'm not. So here's the thing. So I'm just saying is that at some point, I will not say that the city will never have to will never be asked to write a check. I'm saying you will be, but I'm saying that we are going to work our darndest and put something together that the subsidy is not egregious and that.
We.
Well, no, I have a, I mean, I don't know if it's something you guys can answer, and I appreciate that you have money in there to work with a consultant, but having just a little bit of background on art and art acquisition, I'm very excited about the prospect of a museum in Jersey City, but it can be a very expensive prospect, because if you don't have the right donor relations, if you cannot acquire the right collection, you know, and especially as the price of art appreciates, is my concern is that if you're paying the principal and you're paying off the building, there has to be mechanisms to sustain it. And collecting art and collecting and getting acquisitions to put into a museum to make it interesting and viable for residents can be a very expensive and lengthy process.
So that's why we're out hiring a consultant who's an expert who's going to help us find somebody who already have those. Actually, most of these groups. Plus, we don't have a spot yet for the Jersey City collection, which is also important, but also to make it interesting as well, and so we don't make the same mistakes that we made with the last Jersey City Museum. Three of these consultants that have applied to this RFP have international connections, and one of the things that has already happened, for instance, is that the MoMA has been reaching out to various cities around the country because they don't have enough room to display all of their artwork. So there are museums all over the country that are looking for spaces to display their art. So there's a variety of ways that we can go, and that's why we're also hiring an expert. Now, if I was, do you want me to stop?
Councilman?
The original museum we had on Montgomery Street. Then we had the museum up on the other part of Montgomery Street.
It was originally in the top of the library.
I remember
J. Owen Grundy was the administration. I remember, listen, in high school, I went, and I'm probably the only high school kid who went up there and visited. I remember when J. Owen Grundy was the city historian, and he took care of that collection back in the early 80s.
That building and another building.
That's correct. And that's the thing that's important with museums and consultants have been telling us that you need to rotate your art.
A lot of the money is we have all these big developers like Goldman Sachs on the waterfront who move most of the stuff back to New York. They should do something for Jersey City. And a couple of the others up in Gerald Square.
That's what I've been working for. I have a $2 million letter of credit, but I don't have $10 million.
That was the question I wanted to ask. One of them, the $2 million letter, where did it come from?
It came from One Journal Square when we signed an RDA with them several years ago. What?
Building, you said it was worth more than a $9 million. What's the?
I didn't say no. I didn't say appraised value. Okay, because we did not have an appraisal done, and I don't. To be honest with you, I don't want to do an appraisal because if I do an appraisal, I'll be paying more than $9 million for the building. What? No. That's different pot of money. This is not the Loews money. Different pot of money. This is a different pot of money. That's Journal Squared.
Will this have parking? Is this building?
Question about parking.
On Montgomery Street, the last museum that we had, they complained because it was too far away from the transit stations, and it was no parking, and that's ultimately why.
This is essentially on top of the pass station.
Okay, but will there be any parking, or would it be public paid parking?
I can't answer that at the moment. I mean, there are several parking lots. There are several paid parking lots in the area. That's not at the moment. Yeah.
If I may, I was hoping to have just a moment. I want to encourage this board to think about when you balance, when any municipality, particularly a rural or an urban municipality, thinks about balancing its uses, it always has to balance improved space versus open space. And that's particularly an issue for urban municipalities. Jersey City also has experienced an explosion of residential and retail development over the many years. So one of the other uses that the administration is trying to balance against that is the cultural and arts-related uses. So that's why this is a particularly important issue for Jersey City. And when you do that, when you enter into that kind of balancing process for open space, you're frequently measuring the desire for that kind of use, open space, against probably a lack of revenue for it. So you may want to factor in that kind of importance in your decision-making process here. How important is the cultural and arts-related uses to Jersey City relative to the other types of improvements that you're experiencing? The other thing...
So, and David mentioned this earlier, you guys, one thing you said is that this is a worthy investment in the arts. And two questions on that. You know, the first is we have a number of arts organizations who are not museums, who are struggling to find space. So why have we specifically slated this building for a museum, and why is this consultant not taking a broader look and view as to what can go in this space?
Well, actually, they are taking a broader view because a cultural center, maybe the term museum, it's a term that we've been using, but part of our RFP that we put out for the consultants is we have absolutely asked for a local component to be included in it to allow space for some of the local groups to be involved with this. We just didn't want...
Even if they don't do museum stuff, if they do whatever other type of arts.
Exactly.
Okay. Second thing is, you know, to demonstrate that the arts community of the city, which is big and active, is in support of this. You know, I don't see anyone here, but this is the Caucus. I mean, can you tell me that the arts community of Jersey City is unified in unanimous support that this is where we should be spending city resources on the arts?
Well, there were several groups amongst the RFPs who have applied as part of. That's, to be honest with you, why I didn't reach out to bring them here, because I don't want to taint the RFP process. Because there were two, I believe, two different responses to the RFP that included local arts groups, including one of the larger ones. So they're obviously very interested in this, and have applied to be part of that consulting process. But all of the RFP response, I would rather not at the moment, just because I think until we find that decision, we come to that decision of the RFP. I think I need to be fair to all. And then, but the one thing though is, the one thing I say about all of the RFPs, All of the RFPs have mentioned that they are going to reach out to all the stakeholders to find out what they would like to see in a regional cultural arts center. Maybe that's the proper term, not museum. I'm using the term museum loosely, and I shouldn't do that.
What he's saying, right, is this is going to be at some degree a subsidy of the city for the arts, to some degree, we don't know what.
Yeah.
And having just run a campaign, I can say I was lobbied extensively by arts groups. Didn't come up in their conversations with me initially, and if this comes before the council, I would certainly be looking to see real support of the arts community, not the city, but the arts community for this type of a subsidy. That just wanted to state that.
Yeah.
A couple just financial questions or quick things. It says in the resolution, the local finance board, you guys had a hearing with them?
Yes.
Can you send us the transcript of that? And obviously we're voting in 2 days, so the sooner the better.
I don't know if I can get a transcript by Wednesday.
Yeah, I'm not sure I've ever had to get one that quickly before, but I know, I mean, it was some of the issues that you were talking about tonight, we faced at the local finance board before they ultimately approved it, but yeah.
I'll leave it there. I don't want to take too much more time. Last thing, just on the asset question. You said, look, if this doesn't work out, we're acquiring an asset. And Bob, maybe you can help me a little bit in this. How does that work with the city versus the JCRA? Because the city is backstopping it, but the JCRA is acquiring the asset. So is that really a financial upside for the city?
So in any way, shape, or form, number one, I am a, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm a creation of the city and state.
Sure.
So if the agency benefits, I shouldn't say if the agency benefits, the city benefits. And number one, we help fund the city. We've helped fund city projects through land sales all the time. The way the local redevelopment housing law, we have more autonomy and more flexibility in dealing with and the acquisition and selling of property. So it makes it easier for us to negotiate it. That's why we're going through the JCRA and not straight through the city on this. And it makes it easier for us to deal with that. So God forbid, and I hope we don't get there, this is an asset that in everybody I've talked to, and in my opinion, is worth well more than $9 million. I hope I haven't hurt my negotiations with the Hudson County Community College by saying that, but that was, I think, the final thing that actually convinced the local finance board that we were acquiring an asset that historically may no longer be there in a couple of years if we let it go. And in the meantime, we have acquired an asset that will protect this bond. That's the reason.
If I can add too, one of the reasons we're here tonight and not many, many months down in the future when some of the issues that you're asking about tonight have been more fully fleshed out is a matter of timing. Hudson County Community College wants to divest itself of this property. It no longer fits into its plan anymore. Dave and others on the JCRA team have been negotiating with them for quite some time now. They've been patient. They've done so largely because they're interested in helping the city fulfill its desire to do this, but they're also chomping at the bit. So it's been very, very challenging as of late to hold them off in closing on this. So if we don't close with the college in the very, very near future, we are very seriously concerned that they will back out of this deal and they will simply take the property to market. And once they do that, we will not be able to get this property at all, or at least not for the kind of property, or for the value that Dave was able to negotiate to enforce. So, and to the asset that Dave is talking about, I think it's actually part of your agenda packet. There is a page among the packet that identifies a host of different properties that were valued, that were sort of comparables.
We would have to add to the city budget. There's no estimate or anything. That's our concern, because we have to vote on the budget every year because we don't know. Because we vote on the budget every year, so we don't know what we're going to have to add. 500,000.
So what we included in the package to the local finance board was a prospective numbers run for a $10 million bond issue that projected we were going to defer principal for a year. So interest only in the first year was about $225,000 or something in that neighborhood. And then once the principal kicked in, I'm sorry, it might have been about $300,000, but $250,000 or $300,000 for interest in the first year. And then once the principal payments kicked in, it was between $500,000 and $600,000 a year. Our initial plan, once bonds are issued, our initial plan is to issue bond anticipation notes, which would probably trigger an interest payment in the neighborhood of $200,000 or so. And we would likely roll those notes over for a year or two so that we wouldn't be paying principal, which would keep the debt service expenses as low as possible in the first few years.
So, can I, Council So, Bob, maybe you can answer that. Usually, when the city council approve that, and then after that, they go to local government service to prove that the bond. But this one is a total opposite way.
The local government always has to approve it before the city council can approve it, yes. Usually the meeting is in the morning, and the city council means at night. Coincidentally, that's the way it works.
We went very early.
Okay,
By
so
statute, they have to approve it before you can adopt it.
So now I'm going to ask that, you just repeated, you're going so fast, I missed that. So the first 2 years, what is the cost to pay the bond for principal interest? Do we have, you're the bond council, so okay.
If we issue bond.
How many years?
If we were to issue bonds for a 30-year period, we likely would defer principal for a year. So in the first year, you would only pay interest. And that number would probably be about $250,000 to $300,000. $300,000. And then once the principal payments kick in, it's probably $550,000 or so a year.
And that wouldn't start till 19's budget?
If we issued the bonds now, yes. It depends on what time of year they're issued, but in the first 12-month period after you issue.
Georgia City, the first year is $200,000, it's a lot of money, but it's not going to kill city of Jersey City. So let's go with that. Second year, probably principal interest for $500,000, plus what we have to pay operational costs. How much you expect the project?
We're not asking you for operational costs.
Not yet.
We're going to issue bond, but
no, you're not.
We're not. We're going to
sure.
pay for principal interest. But just as a bond council, the museum have to be create some revenue to pay off their operational expenses and to pay for a bond cost for principal and interest. In order to do that, as a bond council, what kind of business revenue the museum have to bring that per year?
Well, that's what the museum consultant is going to do. They're going to program this building so we can figure out what kind of museum and arts and cultural related uses might come in there. They're going to be able to help us estimate the extent to which revenues will be generated by those uses, and then we would know.
And that was part of the RFP for them to help us to generate culturally related revenue sources.
And if I could add too, so while they are not likely to be, the consultant themselves are not likely to be, although they could be, a development partner of the JCRA in this endeavor, they could help the JCRA find such a development partner who might be asked and required to contribute some capital to this, to the construction of the museum itself.
You look at all the land Hudson County has taken off the tax rolls, and the college has taken off the tax rolls. Prime land in Journal Square throughout this city. They should give us that damn land for nothing. And I told you that before, Dave. It's a shame.
I know you have, Councilman.
$14 million for block drug, $4 million for the Providence Savings Bank, millions of dollars for they just took over 880 Bergen Avenue, the other. They should give us that building.
Listen, I'm not going to debate that, Councilman.
When we need something, we get it free. Yeah. When we need something, we got to pay for that.
Dave.
You know, so now, do me a favor. Can we make a contract with them, Austin Community College, with a condition?
You know, the Journal Square.
The condition, what they call that, we're going to buy a building, but based on the city council review that their financial project for Operation Museum. So Austin Community College will know that we're going to buy, so definitely. But after we review that their financial plan for the consulting company, how they're going to operate, how we're going to pay up the interest.
They're not going to wait that long. That's why we're here now.
So make a deal with them.
I'm good, but I'm not that good, Councilman.
And let the mayor do that then.
Sorry, did you say at the very start that you have a contract to buy? Or?
We have a contract to buy.
Is
there a date on that?
It was December 31st of last year. Yeah,
we've delayed them till March. And we've been negotiating with them for over 18 months. Okay. So I've been pushing this off, and they come, because I've been hoping that I've been hoping that money would fall from the sky, or I'd find a grant, and I've been applying for grants, and I haven't gotten it. And so now, yeah, but it's not going to work that way, and we know it's not going to work this way. And Hudson County Community College, they have a student population that they have to be concerned about. So the community college is not going to give the property for nothing. That's just not going to happen. And I have to be honest with you, the JCRA does not give land away.
Well, can you explain to us that over the last 4 years, we issue almost $100 million bond, which guarantees some redevelopment bond. Plus, we're going to issue probably around the $20 million bond, correct? And the plus, we're going to have a
more than that for our own capital projects.
Yeah, more than that, right? So the last 4 years, we issue around $100 million, more than that. Plus, we're going to issue this year, how much? Around the $30 million bond?
30 plus.
Yeah, 30 plus. And the top of that, we got another $10 million.
So this is gotten up?
No. Because what I'm saying is
That's
that's what I'm saying. We pay principal interest per year for bond. We pay $70 million. And outstanding balance of bond almost $700 million. So when we issue bond, I spoke with one of the guys yesterday. It's very interesting. One of the small towns, state in New Jersey, their mayor to ban the bond. So that town has a no bond, actually almost a zero. So think about it. Think about it. We issue bond almost a 5 years period. We're going to issue bond $130 million divided by 5. How much is it? Almost what is it? 20. How much is it? $25 million? Yeah, 20.
For a capital, in my opinion, for a capital project of this size, you would always issue bonds. It's like buying a house. It's like issuing a mortgage. You should not ever pay it all up front. It just doesn't make financial sense. Okay, that's just.
Not many people buy whole cash to buy a house. We all go to bank, borrow the money, but plan have to be in place. How you gonna pay up to your mortgage? Without the plan for how you're gonna pay the mortgage, end of the day, people of Jersey, regular taxpayer, carrying that cost. And also, when they close down Jersey Museum, you know how much they ask the city of Jersey? Almost $2 million. This one, Jonas Square's large size is much larger than what we have, and they're going to have more functions going to put it in. They have more STEM members required, and then not only that, there was like 10 years ago today, the living costs go up. Even the guy who cleaned it, mopping the floor, we got to pay minimum $15. So all those things add up, So cost of taxpayer can be fortune. So we support 100% nothing. Trust me. No. But show us this council, what is your plan, how you gonna pay off that? And if you do that, how much cost will be taxpayer? Even city of Jersey subsidized at the cost. We have to know how we can run on the blank check, say yes. Maybe 2017, maybe the city council people, members will expect to do that. But I think in 2018, we face a new term, new years. We gotta change some, Other than that, we're gonna go like all over again. We're never gonna progress. Mayor hates that the anti-pros people. You know what I'm saying? So we want to progress from where? Finance. More responsible for their matters. Nothing wrong with that. David, Donald, we love you. Thank you for your effort. No, really.
I know you respect me. I don't know that you love me, but I know you respect me.
I love you, I'm telling you.
Folks, if I can ask two things. So, number one is the $2 million credit. Can we include something in the agreement that would say if certain thresholds aren't met with regard to making the payments, that you will, in fact, will apply the $2 million credit towards those payments, right? Towards the payment schedule.
I have no problem with amending it.
That's securely locked in place.
Sure.
The second thing is that,
which would give us, $2 million might give us as many as 3 or 4 years without the city having to put in. I am perfectly fine with that.
and then I just had it, now I've lost it. Oh my gosh. Anyone else have a question? Hearing none, it's gonna come back to me. So.
Okay. Remember you turn it myself.
Run.
So David, you know why?
You blew it.
That's museum. That's what we want to make sure that, you know.
That's why I'm hiring a consultant. I don't know what else to. I'm hiring experts.
David Donnelly Museum.
Okay.
Dave, I have to clean out all my historic stuff. My wife has ordered me to, so get the museum.
So here.
The redevelopment plan with the parking properties in Journal Square, the Harwood properties and so forth, it established like a cultural arts district of sorts?
Yes.
Right? And there was language, I don't remember, it was a couple of years ago now at this point,
Yeah.
but language in there about contributions to an art fund.
That is correct.
So is there some way for us to secure those monies with the redevelopment plan change or with an agreement here, to secure those monies so that they are applied towards
So
this?
so it's talking about an art fund, but that art fund has not ever been specifically set up. I have offered to the city that I would set up in my budget a restricted fund that would collect those funds and allow it only to be used for culture and arts. Part of that could be this Regional Cultural Arts Center, the Lowe's, and anything else in and around the Journal Square 2060 plan. I can restrict that so that it can only be used for that. And if you would like, I mean, I have the $2 million in a restricted account now. We can change or through our bylaws or change that $2 million and create that arts fund with that first $2 million to be in that fund. I have no problem doing that. In fact, that was something we were contemplating doing anyway.
How long before we get any word on 6 consultants on how we're going to be
So
able to pay this?
So I'm interviewing 3, not just me, but we have a team including Christine Goodman, who is Director of Cultural Affairs, who's on the team, Deputy Mayor Vivian Baker Phillips, and Deputy Mayor Marcos Vigil, and an expert from Morris County who's offered to help, and several members of the Bauman firm who are helping us do the interviews, as well as myself and several members of my staff.
How long?
So we're going to, over the next two weeks, we're going to interview all 6, and I'm hoping to have a decision. I hate to put timelines on anything, but on the outside, we should have an answer on the consultant by the end of February.
I mean, if we've been negotiating this for 18 months, like, we should already probably have some of those people in place, right?
Not necessarily, to be honest with you. I wasn't going to hire a consultant if I didn't know I was going to buy a building that was going to be a museum. It's tough, the chicken or the egg thing. Do I go out? If I go and hire a consultant, I got to pay that consultant whether I buy the building or not. That's why I'm not really thrilled with signing a contract or hiring a consultant or having a plan put together before I know I have a place that I'm going to have a museum. It's, I have a budget as well, and I have no sense. I have no sources of recurring revenue. I survive by admin fees and property that I buy and sell at the agency. So it's not as easy as you think.
David, Councilman.
Yes.
If you negotiate 18 months, they can wait 1 more month. It's no big deal.
Yeah, but I need this.
That's what you feel like,
I'm not
but
be able to close in another month. I am supposed to close with them in March.
What's the
And I
The
need,
closing date?
And I need the security of this resolution. If I don't have it,
Once you close, you will do an appraisal. Correct? On the building.
sure, I
once
can
you
do an
close.
appraisal on the building after the fact.
Yeah, but you won't do it before.
I don't want to do it before.
I know, you said that.
Think about it.
No, look,
They're a government agent. They're a government. Just can I? Yeah. I just do it. Maybe Councilman. I can see Councilman Yun Hank. Yeah.
dangerous.
Right.
Yeah.
I understand.
We understand. All right, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. Director Stamato, sorry to keep you and the chief waiting. I'm sorry, Chief, I'm sorry. I'm gonna change this process, I think. This is, I'm just gonna figure out what's controversial and move it to the back, right? It's not fair to these guys. All right, we've got Director Pat Stamato here, and we're starting at 10Y.
I'm going to have Steve Miller address you on 10Y.
10Y is a resolution authorizing a contract with Avid Exchange for the New Jersey Energy Tracking and Bill Management System under state contract.
If you remember, Avid is a company we hired a year or so ago to manage our PSE&G bills. So this encumbrance is really so they can pay our PSE&G bill. They take all the thousands of bills we get each month and they've put it into a nice database and do an analysis. They look for peaks and charges and this and that, and identify potential problems in the billing. They go back to PSE&G and see if, what the issue was. They'll reach out to Steve and see what's going on at that building. Did someone leave a light on in a vacant building type thing? And they've identified overbilling, and they've identified some savings for us. Last year, over $130,000 in savings. So Steve can speak to the rest of the contract, but this is really to pay the PSE&G bill.
That's basically, it's a pass-through. We used to pay PSE&G directly. Now they get the bills directly because they can get it electronically where the city couldn't. And they put it in this database so that people can compare previous years with this year's if they want to compare a certain building for usage or cost or those kind of things. The issue they have with this, a lot of the savings is where buildings have estimated meter readings for a very long time. PSE&G estimates high, so that when they get to do an actual reading, there's a credit. In the past, when I was doing it directly, PSE&G would send us a check, and we would, redeposit that into the account. With Avid, they seem to be crediting against accounts, so we're not getting that actual check, but there is a report of the amount of money they're getting from those things.
So can I ask, we have a contract of $6.4 million for the pay. But actually, when I see that the document that you provide, they have $1.8 million of building and the facility, and the $3.1 million street light, traffic light, so total is like a $4.9 million. Why we have to make contract is a $6.4 million other than $4.9 million.
It's up to, you only pay what you're billed. So it's up to 6.4. If we only get billed for $5 million, we pay $5 million.
When they have $6.4 million, he got this much job, but if it's a $4.9 million, so they're small, maybe the fee can be different.
So how much does the company get? Because I guess maybe to Michael's point, is it a percentage?
I think it's $40,000.
How much? Entirely different contract.
$40,000?
But how much do they get? We know it's a different contract.
$50,000 for doing this processing. That's not in this at all. No, it's based on what they're doing.
It's a different contract. That was awarded last year.
Right.
So it'll be coming up for renewal at some point this year.
Right, some of that total amount in the budget for this also goes to a third-party vendor, where on your home bill you would get a third-party company, you got to pay them. At home, you get it paid through PSE&G. With the city, a lot of that isn't going through PSE&G, there's separate bills coming. So that comes out of this money.
That was the co-op we entered with the county?
Yep. Yes, yes. Which was supposed to have them billed directly through PSE&G, except they don't quite do all of it. And then some of this is for street lighting for Society Health. And fairly soon, you're probably going to get an agreement for Port Liberté for the same thing, because that's in the works now, in the law department.
So Bob Kelly,
yes, sir.
City of Jersey spent almost $4.5 million for PSE&G. I think this is a time continue press PSE&G, upgrade the street light from the regular bulb to LED light, and even this office, there's time to change those kind of things. So even though we save 30%, so $5 million at 30%, that means we're talking $1.5 million.
Yeah, we've charged Joe Cunha to be working with PSE&G on the LED issue. So he's working with them. It's not going over too well, to be quite honest with you, because we can't force them to do it. It's their equipment.
So then if they cannot do that, the city building, the city facility, we can do it because they're not.
That's street lights we can't.
But that's what I'm saying. So
city buildings we can put LED in, no problem.
So that's what I'm saying. So instead of wait for PSE&G to take action, at least whatever we're able to do ourselves, we gotta step forward to go and change that.
That's one of the projects for our sustainability office, Kate Lawrence.
Yeah?
To work
So
on.
he's working on it
The
now?
municipal buildings, yes.
So when are we gonna see that the result?
She just got the job.
She's got the job, yeah.
Councilman G has just been appointed, number one, and number two, I've met with him about 3 days ago.
And number three,
But we have started LED process for our parks, so you know.
LEDs down by Chopping Court and around, they did it. They changed a lot of the lights.
Like Bob pointed out, we are having difficulty with PSE&G. I am familiar with what Joe Kuna is doing with PSE&G. I do know on our end, on the city end, we are looking at our municipal buildings along with our parks to put in LEDs. But here again, I mean, going forward, it's going to be a capital expense on our budget that we'll be putting in.
You're the one of the most favorable director in the city of Jersey. But let me tell you one thing. If you save some dollars, you can put in the 6 benches in Central Avenue, and you can replace the garbage can in Central Avenue too. So I'm waiting for it. Just say yes. Thank you. All right.
Okay, so next item, 10Z.
There was a bid that basically that we entertained. It's providing various parts for vehicles, Class 5 and over. That's over 15,000 pounds. These are our heavy vehicles. DPW spent $280,000 in 2017. Our current contract amount for this bid is $300,000, and we have a temporary encumbrance of $30,000. The number of snowstorms, different breakdowns, the age of the equipment, that's what's causing this.
Have you guys ever looked at, are the majority of these repairs concentrated on vehicles over 10 years old? And would it make more sense were we actually saving money as a city to be upgrading our fleet?
Very good point, Councilman. We are looking at that. We are in the process. The biggest hit that we're taking right now, in all honesty, is on our street sweepers. We are working with the DEP on a possible a loan program where we'll be able to replace upwards of 11 vehicles, which would be a tremendous savings for us.
You can kind of quantify those repair costs so we can see
Sure.
that that's good for us.
Sure.
The 11 vehicles would all be street sweepers?
Yes. Yes, that's basically about half our fleet because of the age of the vehicles that we have in place now.
You know, that the Office of Sustainability, anything, the EVs, electric vehicles?
We just had that conversation with Brian Platt. We're looking at a number of vehicles that would be electric. But you have to understand, I mean, we're still, quite away from that before that project actually would take hold. And then on these larger vehicles, the biggest bite that we have right now is on the street sweepers. I don't see them becoming electrified in the next few years because of the design. I mean, we are changing our street sweepers from mechanical to high vac, what they've referred to as a high vac system, which gives us a larger capacity and it's a lot more efficient. So we're looking at those. Those are what will be replacing our mechanical street sweepers. Right now, we have roughly about 22 street sweepers. They're all mechanical. We have only one high vac system that we have been playing around with the last year, and we've been very successful with it. That's the reason why we're looking to replace it.
Okay, Z1 is an open-ended contract to Diaz Nurseries for trees for the Department of Public Works.
Here again, this was a bid. Supply and deliver various trees, includes 2 and 2.5-inch caliber bagged and burlapped trees. 2.5 to 3-inch caliber bagged and burlapped, 2 to 3-inch bagged and burlapped. Funding is through the Community Steward Incentive Program. This is basically a combination of a bid that was put out and a grant. So we're receiving money on this, roughly about $96,875.
Is this one of those contracts where we pay as we get trees or?
Well, they'll give, in other words, we had to bid it. Once we bid it, we submit that, and in turn, they reimburse us.
Get.
Or just trees?
Actually, you know what? I believe it's the trees that will go around Jersey City, whether it's on streets and parks. Now, I could be wrong, I can check into that further.
Check into whether this is part of the same trees that people have to pay for to put on the street trees.
Different, I know that's a different program, totally different program. But I will check into that, Councilman.
The Councilwoman's question, that'd be great.
Yeah, that's.
Especially if we're getting money in and then do, well, that's a different conversation, but.
I don't know if, well, I'll check into it and get back to you.
I
on
just
that.
want to make sure that this was also 2 years of warranty, the tree?
I do know there's a warranty on the tree. I don't know exactly how long. It'll probably be in the
But
paperwork.
last time, when we purchased a tree, you said 2 years warranty. But this one, I didn't see any warranty for the trees, because I heard there's some rumors that DPW received a tree this first time, 100 years of cold weather, they received some trees in this. I wonder if they're true or not. But I just want to make sure that.
Not to my knowledge, Councilman.
But I can check into that also. No, no, our trees are inspected as they're coming in, and we've had great success with this company, to be honest with you. One more question?
To either of you, I'm not sure who would address it, but we had the program to increase our tree canopy by like 2,000 trees, I forget what the number was, working with the Parks Coalition. You don't have to answer me now, just looking for a report on kind of where we are in this process and whether we've reached our goals.
All right, let's move on to 10Z2. It's an open-end contract with Lincoln Recycling Service for the disposal of various waste types for the Department of Public Works.
This is a resolution for, last year we spent $330,000 in 2017. This was for jobs that we did in-house, whether it was a construction or demolition, sweeper debris, this is where our sweeper material go, woods, different types of material that would not be a receptacle to recycling, tires, white goods. Now, Christmas trees, these are the trees, we refer to them as Christmas trees, but not clean trees. Those we'll bring to a recycler. These are trees that would not be accepted at a recycler. You know, whether they have tinsel, they have their imitation Christmas trees, you know, things of that nature, stuff like we can't really recycle. And vegetative waste, stuff that basically, when we do bring our leaves to a recycler, this is stuff that we're paying for them to process it.
Questions for Director Stamano? None? Gentlemen, thank you.
Councilman, thank you very much.
Sink Navy. Goodbye, Pat.
The only thing I want to say is I forgot to wish everyone a good evening, and I appreciate the opportunity to come before you.
Okay, we've got Chief McGill. Thank you for your patience, Chief. And Chris Kearns with us as well. So the first item is Ordinance 3A.
Yeah, this is the re-up the lease on the State Street property we have, that we house equipment in. Right next to Bishop Street, yep.
This is a forever lease.
Hopefully they're gonna offer us to buy in a couple of years, so just give you a heads up.
Any questions for the Chief?
Do you guys know how the price per square foot compares to other places in the area?
Bob?
I think it's $12 per square foot.
I think we're below what it's supposed to be, from what I remember. I'm not 100% sure.
It's an ordinance, so if it's possible to get a comparison, just make sure we're getting a good deal. It doesn't have to be world beating.
Because we had looked into doing another building too, and we had gone through this, and it was below the market rate, I think we were getting.
If you could just confirm that, that's great.
Okay. Next item, 10T. I'm sorry, no, I'm wrong.
You got S.
10S, yes. 10S.
AAA emergency, that's for money for parts for our SCBA's, which is our breathing apparatus we use when we're in the fires.
You're just not underwater.
That's right, pal. That's scuba. This is without the U. Basically, it's just basic maintenance that we have to do all the time. That's our number one piece of equipment for the
Is our police boat, fire boat in the water, or are they?
police boat. I really don't care about, but no, I'm kidding. I know you're going to ask. No, right now, all 3 fire boats are being have maintenance being done. Due to the weather, we couldn't get 2 of them out of the water because they were iced in pretty much. So we finally got the middle-sized one out. That's being fixed as we speak. The larger boat, we can't do anything now with the weather until we can get somebody in. They may have to take that out, repaint the hull, do that stuff. So that's kind of out of service now. We do have a smaller boat. It's like a 14-footer that we can use for certain rescues. That was fixed, and right now it's ready to go. But we don't man that full-time anymore. It's not efficient to do that way. We added an extra. That boat company is now up in the heights, and they'll respond down if we need them. They're being used more efficiently now.
Total contract is $100,000, right? But when I see the documentation and they provide, but they hire this company based on state contract.
Okay.
And then they say they award without the public bidding. And when you see that the additional documentation, the AA emergency supply company, they didn't give you, what kind of discount they provide? Because some company, I'm not gonna say the name, they discount to 30%, another company is 25%, but this both company located in Stepton, New Jersey. Any reason we have to go New York, so what's the place? Oh yeah, White Plains, New York, other than Stepton, New Jersey. There any reason? Because their price is cheaper than the company in New Jersey? Or, because...
Well, the state contract is the state of New Jersey doing the public bid.
Right.
So they identify the low bidder on these various commodities. What you're looking at in these discounts, you see various lines which are different commodity codes. So not everything here is specific to what the chief is asking for.
Right.
There are different commodity codes attached here. They probably should have done a better job of identifying the commodity codes applicable to this contract.
And this company is in New Jersey. It's down the shore, I think I think it's in Neptune, if I'm not mistaken.
That's why I was wondering, is
That's
it?
probably the parent company, maybe. I'm not sure, 100%. We've been using this company for years and years. Like you said, it's a state contract, so it's the low bid.
So, state contract always guarantee the low bid? No.
You can do a public bid on our own, and sometimes you'll get a better price.
That's what I'm saying.
Sometimes. No guarantees.
But why-
State contract is a faster way to get the process done. They've done a public bid.
We understand that at least we can ask the quotation from the company located in New Jersey.
The company is in New Jersey.
I think the corporate headquarters is
Yeah.
White Plains, but they do business, they do everything in New Jersey.
Yeah.
But, our concern is that.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
We don't mind to use a state contract because they save time.
We don't
but-
have many dive shops in
But-
Jersey City.
But the other hand, also, we should be looking to get some, at least, couple of quotation from the, companies so we can compare them. Bob K., that's your job. Yeah.
I'll speak with our purchasing agent about that, and he'll be coming before this board, talk about purchasing, so we can bring all these issues up to him when he comes here.
Okay, all right, thank you.
So are you satisfied with this, Councilman Yun, in terms of going forward, or?
I'm satisfied.
Councilman Yun? No, this goes forward?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, 10T, an award of contract to Minerva Bunker Gear for cleaning, decontaminating, inspecting, and repair of all firefighting, protective gear and accessories for the Department of Public Safety, Division of Fire.
It's for all our cleaning and repairing our turnout gear. That's the actual equipment we wear when we go into a fire, which is exposed to hazardous materials, soot, smoke, heat, everything. We haven't used this full amount in the past, but this year we were definitely going to use that and then some. We'll probably come back for more, only because we're going to start a new health and wellness program. There's a big issue now with cancer rates are going up in firefighters, and they're relating it to not cleaning the gear. The remnants of soot is remaining on that, getting around your neck, your face. When you get wet, it drips down to the rest of your body. So there's a lot of studies out there. Mainly the big one is in Boston, where they're really pushing to have the gear cleaned. So by NFPA, which is the National Fire Protection Association, their national standards are at least once a year, all turnout gear should be cleaned and inspected by a professional person that actually inspect it for rips, tears, and repairs. That's what this company will do for us. And, you know, it's expensive, each set of gear to clean. And if it has to be repaired, it's a little bit of a cost. We've been having gear going out there and being actually condemned, which is then very costly, but you have to check it. If we didn't have this company check it, we couldn't be able to check it on our own. And it's something that should have been condemned, and a person went into a fire, they're at risk of losing their lives.
See, you know, that is my concern. 10S is $100,000 contract, and we go state contract, you know, and the 10T is not that much, a $30,000 contract, but we go to another, I say that the New York company, Bronx, New York, but I don't like to hear that in the documentation, whereas A informally solicited 2 quotas from the, you know, informally, it's unfeel comfortable to find the quotation from informally from the 2 company, you know, so why they informally get the price from the 2 company other than
Because it's below the threshold.
So they're able to do informal quotations.
informal.
What is the threshold?
40,000.
40,000, because under $40,000, okay, that's what it is. Then what is the other company that have a price offer to City of Jersey? This one, $30,000.
I think they declined a bid, right?
How many companies can do this?
Not that many companies out there, and this company just happens to be one of the better ones that was recommended by the manufacturer of the turnout gear. And a lot of the fire departments around here use that, and their turnover is a lot quicker. We'll get that stuff back within a week if we send it out to clean, depending on if it's repaired, and that's not guaranteed by most other people.
How many fire departments in New Jersey?
How many fire departments are there in New Jersey? You have to ask the governor that, I'm not sure. Honestly, I don't know.
566 towns. Many of them have fire districts.
Right,
It's
there's
hundreds.
Yeah.
So,
Probably over 1,000. Huh?
Lose a foundation.
Yes.
yeah.
Well said.
So we have a 565 municipal government located in Stephen, New Jersey. So when we have a 565 municipal government, almost every town has a fire department, location of fire.
Yeah.
It's a volunteer or full-time, whatever is there. But we cannot find the vendors in Stephen, New Jersey. We have to go Bronx or New York.
There are not that many vendors that do it, because a lot of people just don't do it to the standards. A lot of people just don't get their gear cleaned. Or they'll do it in-house, and you can't guarantee it's cleaned. Like, I'll give you an example. We had a fire in one of the public schools last year. They had asbestos in there. That gear came back contaminated with asbestos, and no company would clean it because they can't guarantee it's cleaned. So we had to condemn that gear. It was like $200,000 worth of gear. We're trying to get that recouped from the Board of Ed and Risk Management. So this company, although they even said they couldn't clean it, but they can clean just about anything that we give them other than that and a couple other things. But the specifications now and the requirements by the National Fire Protection Association are very strict now.
The one that declined to bid was from New Jersey.
New Jersey?
Yes.
How much was their offer?
They refused to bid, so there's
Oh,
no,
they refused to bid.
refused to bid.
All right.
Yeah. Some can't handle the amount of gear we have, too. We're the second largest, us and Newark are almost the same size fire department, so there's a lot of gear.
So as a new fire chief,
Right.
tell us that the full board, the council was, say something at least.
You got a couple more resolutions?
Yeah. I'll say something before I leave. Let's say,
Support the contracts.
yes, thank you for this money.
Support the contracts he brings to you. That's what he wants you to do.
Okay, 10U.
10U is a Jersey City outfit, turnout fire and safety. We're purchasing protective gear and equipment under state contract.
Yeah, and this is basically, a lot of this equipment is going to be going to the new recruits that are going to start the academy in 2 weeks. So we're depending on the background checks, we're between 30 and 40 firefighters. We'll know by the end of the week, hopefully by sometime next week. And that's 2 sets of gear for each of those, and each set of gear is about $4,000. Yeah. Yeah.
Paint?
We cleaned.
You did?
We
You
actually
hosed
cleaned
them
that
off?
house, yeah.
Oh, okay.
We got it fast enough, so, yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's not cheap. Okay, we got 10V.
That's a contract to CDW Government for the license renewal of Carbon Black Cybersecurity for the Department of Public Safety, Communications and Technology Center through the Educational Services Commission of New Jersey, formerly Middlesex Regional Educational Services Commission.
This is essentially just our security system that prevents, any type of malware or any antivirus software that protects the Department of Public Safety. We started using this company about 6 months ago. This is just keeping the contract going to make sure we're still safe. This is just renewed till the end. It continues until the end of the year, till next year, as we renew it every year. Okay. It's been renewing it from 2014. I'm sorry.
Okay, I don't know if there's technicalities. I just didn't see a length on there.
No,
it matters or not.
Okay.
Oftentimes, Councilman, there's a option year.
Okay.
Is that what you're talking about,
Yeah.
Chris? You have an option year?
I didn't see that
Is it
anywhere.
renewal,
I'm
or-
just saying I just didn't see it anywhere.
It's an annual
This is
subscription.
just to continue it, push it forward to the next year, to the next council, I guess.
Okay, are you here for W?
I am as well.
CDW Government LLC for the renewal of Cisco SmartNet service maintenance?
This is just the maintenance and repairs to any damage or things that happen to the servers in our city. So all of our storage, it's protecting that, as well as making sure anything that does happen to it, we can in fact make the repairs at that cost.
Cova Corporation for the maintenance of the 9/11 analog recording system?
Yeah, that's just to, any issues that we have with the 911 recording system, it's making sure that it's immediately taken and kept online. It's what keeps it functioning on a day-to-day basis and stops any hiccups along the way.
Well, let me ask this over. This thing's come out actually to many use. Why we have to still use the analog digital recording system other than the analog system? Why not change to digital? I think last time Bob Baker, he mentioned today they're going to change to analog recording system to digital. That's what I remember, if I'm correct. But why still every year we spend like $60,000 to keep the analog system? By the state statute, we have to keep the two-way analog and digital, or just because of we are lazy to convert it to the analog to digital? Where are we standing now?
I believe we're still in the transition of making the change from analog to digital. So I believe this is just to provide during the transition and keep them both up and running to ensure we're not just cutting one off. I will check with Director Baker, though, and I can get you an answer on that.
I heard that story almost 5 years. That's what I'm saying.
I will get an answer for you first thing tomorrow. I'll call it.
Okay.
All right?
And just in case, I'm not sure if it covers the radios, too?
It does.
All right, so the radios that the fire department uses are still analog, because they actually work better, because they work better at the fire scene. The digital is more difficult to transmit through buildings like high-rises, down on the ground. So we've kind of insisted on keeping the analog also, and we just use that on the fire grounds because it penetrates through the buildings a lot better than the digital.
5 years, you got the answer.
Yeah. That's the wrong person. That's the main reason why eventually we may be forced to go all digital, but we're holding on to those analogs as long as we can, because somewhere down the line, if we have to, each of those analog channels are worth probably 20, 30 digital channels. So with dealing with the FCC is difficult to get a channel.
It's $60,000 keep our firefighters safe and the people.
I would say so.
Thank you.
Steve, you want to say anything about the professional services agreement?
Yes, it does. Yeah,
for
that's the last
comprehensive
one.
psychological services?
And that's just Z4.
Z4?
That's just a contract with the psychiatrist or psychologist that our recruits go to as part of the hiring procedure. They have to go through to the psych, which is happening this week for the people, and then they go to a medical review, and once they pass those two, they're good to go. That's intent of employment.
Can we extend those services to the council?
Oh,
You have to be crazy.
Who's first on the list?
Is there continuing follow-up or anything? Because I know sometimes they face with a lot of
Well, what we did, what I started.
Challenges, just going
Yeah.
into certain scenes, is there anything that
Yeah,
support
well,
them after?
Since I've been doing this, and we'll talk about what the councilman had mentioned, I've been doing this for the past 10 months as an interim. Since I started there, I realized that need. We used to have a countywide crisis intervention team, which when that person retired, he was a North Hudson fireman, it never got replaced. That was definitely an issue I always had, because I dealt with things like that, and I've seen a lot of our own actually pass away over the past 10 years. So dealing with that is very important. So what I did was I put together a group of firemen internally. Actually, Bob Baker does it for the police. We got his help, and also from the National Firefighters Association. They gave us some information. But what we did was we put together a crisis intervention team that we have and we do internally. Prior to that, we used to have to call in New York City, and they would do it on a voluntary basis. But now we have our own doing it with our own. We use it again, actually, today, as a matter of fact, because the other day there was a woman severely burnt at a fire on Delaware Avenue, I think it was. And she's still alive, thank God, right now. But the people who brought her out, the firefighters, we had them talk to them, because that's a traumatic incident. I don't care. I've seen thousands of things. Sometimes you just repress it and hold it back in. This is definitely a great thing to do. So that's one of the things I started. Another one I talk about is the health and wellness. Is going to be really cancer prevention, nutrition, exercise, that type of stuff, because cancer is a big one in the fire service, and heart attacks. So there's definitely a lack of input or knowledge base that we have to get out there to the firefighters that we have. And I mean, other than that, I just want to thank the council for supporting me. I hope you do. And I'll support you if you ever need me at community meetings or anything else like that. I'll come and talk. I will say, go ahead.
Oh, come on, you love seeing me here.
All right, yeah. But I will say before I stop is April 1st is going to be the new test coming out for firefighter. So I'll get that information out. We'll put it on the city website. I put a recruitment team together that's going to go out and do some heavy recruiting in all the neighborhoods in the city. The idea is we're going to get computers, an extra computer in each firehouse, so the people in the community can come to the firehouse and actually log on for the application, because all state applications now for fire are via the internet. So, and also we set up, the last time we did it, we set up libraries to have the icon on their computer, but we want them to come to the firehouse to do that. So we're going to do a lot of community relations and outreach with the schools too, with recreation we were doing with the past director, and everything worked out well, so we just want to continue that. So
To that end, Chief, that recruitment office under public safety, is that just police or police and fire?
they have their own, but talking with Director Shea, we're going to combine those together, but as far as I know, we don't have any office space to use. It was supposed to be in the new annex. So when that's done, hopefully we'll be there, and we'll have a full-time voluntary staff on the fire department side. I don't know how the police do it, but yeah, that'll be a big push. Yeah, I don't think, so.
Chief, you said the application period starts April 1st. When does it end?
That I'm not sure yet. I'm waiting for that's a tentative for April 1st. Usually it's 30 days more. Sometimes it's 90 days, I'm not sure. They told me probably they look to have the test given the end of the summer, early fall. So when that happens, we'll get the information from the state, and we'll put together prep classes, and we'll get that word out too. Last time we used the community college, the county community college down on Montgomery Street, and we had basically dry runs of the test, so to help them out. So, and that's all free. So, yeah.
Thank you, Chief.
You got it. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Take care. That's all right.
All right, we're going to go to the top.
Okay, we did 3A, 3B is an ordinance approving a 30-year tax exemption for a mixed-use income rental project to be constructed by Terrazzetto, New Jersey Urban Renewal, LLC, an urban renewal entity pursuant to the long-term tax exemption law.
Okay. Introduce yourself.
Good evening, council members. My name is Tom Lean of the law firm of Connell Foley. I am here on behalf of Tercetto NJ Urban Renewal LLC. Seated to the right of me are Sandra Sung and Deborah Tantliff, who are principals in the entity. We are here seeking a long-term tax exemption for a property located at 524 530 Ocean Avenue. It is located at the corner of Ocean Avenue and Bayview. This is a 4-story, 20-unit project. It is mixed use and mixed income. There will be 20 units and approximately 1,500 square feet of commercial space, and the breakdown on the affordable units is 3 for homeless veterans, 6 affordable units, and 11 market rate. All of the units are priority to veterans. The length of the tax abatement is 30 years, and we are seeking that pursuant to Tier 5 of the Mayor's executive order. And we are here to answer any questions you may have about the project and about our proposed application. Well, the Tier 5 allows the abatement to exist to the length of the affordability. We're going for 30 years because once the project is built, you can't come back and ask for more. 30 is the max years. The intent of the developer is for the affordability controls to last for the full 30 years of the abatement.
Offers because it's for veterans as one, but 30-year abatements should be gone.
Councilman Robinson?
Could you explain to me the priority of marketing to veterans instead of it fully being towards veterans?
Yeah, sure. I will turn it over to the members of the entity.
Sure. Hi, good evening, everyone. Deborah Tantliff, DebraTantleff. I'm a member of Terzetto. We will have a third-party management company that will be overseeing all of the lease administration for the units. We will be holding a lottery with respect to affordability controls, but the first step will be the priority marketing and offering of the building to U.S. veterans. We will be working with the Hudson County COC and the Continuum of Care to secure and access veterans, but we will be advertising appropriately. We will then qualify prospective residents in context of the affordability controls for the low-income, for the affordable units, and we will be working with vouchers with respect to the units that are dedicated for homeless veterans. So with respect to priority marketing on veterans, all things being equal, on the market rate units, should a veteran come and a regular prospect off the street come, the veteran will take priority in obtaining the lease. And similarly, we will be conducting the lottery in a way with the affordable controls that the veterans will be screened in context of the affordability controls and take priority over non-veteran residents.
So you're saying this possibly could be filled with non-veterans also?
Correct.
Yes. Because they have only... Not only, I mean, they have...
You're asking for a 30-year abatement, and I was under the impression, and so is Danny, that this is for veterans only.
The 3 of the units will be dedicated for homeless veterans. All 20 units will be priority marketed to veterans. We have no way of knowing the screening process and who's going to be looking and available at the time that the building comes online. But the goal is to priority market to those veterans. Those 3 units will be guaranteed to veterans. And again, any veteran will take priority over a non-veteran.
You go first, right? Yeah.
I was just going to say that, you know, this project is important. In 2011, I started a community garden at that spot, and we were removed to make way for development. So I think it's important that we have veteran housing. But I have a question in regards to the benefits, where it says it's going to provide employment and economic opportunities for city residents and businesses. And then also the 45 jobs during construction and 5 new permanent jobs. So are those jobs going to be geared towards, or is someone mandating that those jobs are for city residents?
Per deciding if we are to enter into the tax exemption agreement, we are required to also sign the project employment and contracting agreement with the city, which has a mandate of 50% of all jobs are for local Jersey City residents, and there's further requirements as it relates to minority and women workers. Those goals are constantly monitored by the city's tax abatement compliance office, who we've already met with and will continue to meet with as the project goes along. If we are not to meet those requirements, there are certain penalties within the project employment and contracting agreement that the developer will be required to pay.
So, that the Councilwoman, I just want to make sure that this project not limited to the resident of Jersey City. They received the federal grant, right? Because that they, what are they called? That they have no county as a federal grant.
Yeah, the project is there's a variety of funding sources, one of which is home funds from the county. And the city as well.
Affordable housing, city going to give to you guys $1.5 million, and the Hudson County Home Program is $800,000, and the Jersey Home Programs are $500,000. But all those program funding come from the federal. No, I think so.
The home program.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
That's why they can now limit it to the only people resident of Jersey City because they receive the federal grant. So that's one thing. So now, second thing is that my concern is that selection of the tenant, that you're going to do that the lottery, right? Okay, just want to make sure that, okay?
Yes.
That so the people not only those area, city of Jersey, everybody can see that they have some opportunity available. And the selection of the applicant, the tenant based on lottery system, right? Correct. Okay, so as long as they clear that part of it. And another one, I don't know who made this one, anticipated pilot programs of $25,000 a year, and that the abatement of result payment to greater than $814,000, but I don't know where they come for $814,000 number.
That would be over the life of the abatement. So if the abatement is alive for 30 years, that over the time, the pilot payments would result in, that would be the minimum. That's just based off of the minimum annual service charge, which is the lowest possible that they could pay. Yes. In other words, if that's the lowest possible number that the city would recognize over the 30 years.
Thank you very much. Based on the city provided that, I don't know who created this part, they say over the 30 years, they say $449,000. So what they say, and the so can yeah.
Just based off of 30 times 25 being the minimum, I don't know where 400 would come from. So.
Who produced this documentation?
This would be the tax collector's office.
Tax collector's office.
Yeah, the abatement team down there.
So in other words, so this one come from the NW Financial Advisory?
No, it did not. It came from
City staff members.
City staff actually expect $440,000, and you expect $814,000. What that means that city has a risk to maybe collect a less annual service charge. Because the city believe that expect $440, and you expect $840. That means somehow city going to be.
I'm not certain where the city got that calculation from. Going on the terms and the definitions within
So do you think in that present value calculation? Because you're $800,000
No.
present value.
So what you do is
you're a finance guy. You can see discount numbers that are in the future. So
but
that's my guess.
based off of the fact that there is a required minimum annual service charge.
So can we make also feel good? So before Wednesday, would you provide $814,000 based on your calculation so we can fix that?
Absolutely.
When we pay $449,000, City of Jersey provide almost $30,000 of municipal service we have to subsidize. So I'm not feel comfortable to subsidize municipal service in that project. But if you guys pay $814,000, then we don't have to subsidize $30,000 per year. So that we just want to make sure that. Okay, you understand, right?
I understand. I don't know if that document is accounted for. I don't know. I have no basis for what those numbers were coming from.
All right. I have a goal for question.
Councilperson Ridley?
It says that the retail space, you're intending for that space to go to a nonprofit that will assist veterans. Is there already a nonprofit that you guys have in mind for that space, or are you saying that that's the goal of the space and you then have to find a nonprofit?
We are currently working with Community Hope, who's one of the region's largest providers for social services for veterans, and we're also working with the Curtis Consulting Group, who focus on vocational job training and integrating veterans back into the workforce. So the intention is that those two agencies will be able to think of it as a co-working space, if you will, where we will be able to provide one-off case management to a veteran as needed, host a community workshop and job fair, and we are currently in the market for a full-time nonprofit tenant who can serve as the anchor tenant, if you will, full-time. Our intention is we're currently offering the space to nonprofits that are complementary nonprofits that offer social services and case management. We're offering the space as rent-free with our message and focus of please focus on your core mission and not worry about paying overhead.
It's a great gesture for the community, really. Thank you for that effort.
So I guess those are the only two questions that I do have. The priority and intention. Like Councilman Boggiano said, this can possibly be a building that is filled with people other than veterans. Correct. And for me, given a 30-year tax abatement is a lot, but if it's for veterans, my uncle passed away. He was a homeless veteran. He spent his time, a lot of time in the streets, actually living in the family business, living in our house when I was growing up. My father and most of his brothers are veterans as well. But for this, I would like the language to be changed from priority and intended to specifically being for veterans and veteran service. I mean, I'm sure it's a lot of veterans around the city, state, country that can use this housing. My fear is that this will become, how do you call it, a property where we have tenants that live there because of the location. It's very close to, exit 14B, that we will have tenants that would like to live there at market rate, and it just won't be for veterans.
I appreciate it.
Could you restrict that?
We could, yes. But I just to address your concern, there is the possibility, other than the 3 homeless units that we have for homeless veterans and the 11 market rate, we also do have 6 affordable. And we don't want 6 units that are sitting empty because we cannot find someone to fill that space. So I understand your concern for the market rate, but the intent here is certainly to market these and to always give a priority to veterans who are seeking housing.
The other thing that we will be monitoring during lease-up is should we have a veteran come and their move-in date is maybe 30 or 60 days after what a market rate, what a layman resident would be looking for, we would take the veteran resident over the layman resident. That's not the right word, but I'm not really sure how to categorize somebody like me. But to Councilwoman's point, the funding that comes with this project is all in conformance with the way the RFP was structured. Our intent is to offer this building up to veterans. Again, we have no way of knowing who's going to be looking for housing at that point in time, and without being able to underwrite a certain guarantee in an absorption rate, we wouldn't be able to secure the private financing that goes with this project. So it's hard, it's difficult for us to be open-ended and say we would only hold these units for an undisputed amount of time for veterans, because we do have certain requirements that we have to meet with the private financing on this project. But again, we will be actively marketing and advertising the project early on to ensure that we can capture as many available veterans that are out there for this project.
The question is that the definition of homeless veterans, so they qualify that they are homeless veterans in a part. How long they have to be homeless? Some case they say 90 days or 30 days. So, because the reason I say that, one of the World War II veterans in Haiti, and without any support by community, he's going to be homeless tomorrow. But try to get veterans housing units like what you try to build, but because that person not qualified, because he's not homeless yet, I think that's not fair. In other words, our government, city or project wait for till somebody be homeless, we cannot prevent be homeless because the person will be homeless without as a community, financial support. So this project have to be certain period of time have to be homeless, or anybody can be homeless tomorrow can apply for that.
The resident there's a screening process that happens with the continuum of care, the Hudson County continuum of care. I believe that they have different levels of homelessness, chronic homelessness. They categorize them into different levels of severity. That is not my area of expertise, so I certainly do not want to make any representations on that, but I can commit to you that we will be working with the COC hand in hand to make sure that the prospect and resident is screened in accordance with their criteria. Which I kicked Dave out, so I don't know.
Just briefly, just to give you my perspective, just first, obviously, these types of projects are great, providing these types of affordable housing. I'm working with homeless veterans. At the same point, I'm concerned about making sure that the city is still getting a good deal out of this process, even if the project itself is a valuable project. So for me, the question isn't whether we should be working with you, but is 6.28% the right service charge, and is 30 years the right length? And to answer those questions, just I talked to a few folks I know in the affordable housing world, and they said that a couple of documents that would be helpful to look at is a development budget, a rental mix summary, an operating expense budget, and a projected cash flow. Are those documents you guys can provide us?
Those were all presented, they were all part of the application, those are required documents, so we have them and they could be provided.
Sure.
And just also to clarify your point, the 6.28% rate is on the affordable units, and the market rate is at 10%, in accordance with the Tier 5 program.
Yes.
Okay. I'll confirm that's in here.
If they all the population more than 12%, if the property level more than 12%, they have to pay extra profit paid to City of Jersey as annual service charge. But Bob K, I think it's about time City of Jersey take action, because the 2013 City of Jersey go after certain pilot program to request that they pay City of Jersey extra profit. So as I understand, 2013-14, we collect around $3 million extra, but from the 2014-2018, past 5 years, real estate market is booming in Jersey City, so they have some kind of extra profit out there about time to collect. And also, those kind of book, what are they called, auditing, cost for taxpayers a penny. And end of the day, the developer have to pay auditing cost also. So cost of nothing for the Jersey City, then about time we should be looking to their financial statement more closely to make sure there were any extra properties there. If they have that, then time to pay back to City of Jersey City.
Well, we do have staff down there that do review the
Financial statements every year. If there are any particular pilot programs that you think that could be.
There were 150, 109 projects out there. How will we do that? But that's your job, not my job.
All right.
You know what I'm saying? So, and not only City of Jersey look into, we should hire a third-party auditor to look into that matters. And the cost will not be the City of Jersey. They're supposed to pay by developer. The project, okay? All right? Bob K.
Yes, sir.
We're going to be pursuing project-based vouchers. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, 3C. All of you received it tonight.
Kevin Williams is here to speak. I don't know how you want to do that. Yeah, so I don't know how you want to do that. Right there, he's sitting down.
She have something on the agenda?
He wanted to speak. I don't know how you want to do that, but I don't want to forget him. Just don't forget him.
All right, 3C, excuse me, everyone, leave quietly. Leave quietly. 3C is a 5-year tax exemption for a property known by the street address of 121 Garrett Street, near the Science Center.
Before they begin, I just want to say something. You're not aware probably that they just received this. Okay, so It was listed on the agenda, but due to a mix-up with me and not getting the information to the law department in time, this was not included on the agenda, although it was intended to be on the agenda at the time. So this is a 5-year tax exemption, and I'll turn it over to these gentlemen to talk about what's going on here.
Thank you, Council President, members of the council. Robert Vertibello from the law firm of Connell Foley on behalf of the developer. I have with me John D. Fiorito, who is a principal with the development entity, Garabrandt LLC. This is a short-term 5-year tax abatement, market rate development on Garabrandt Street. It's a 6-story, 75-unit building to be constructed, new construction. All market rate units. It's a mix of studios, 1 and 2 bedroom units. We've complied with all planning requirements and also with the city ordinance with regards to 5-year tax abatements. We're here this evening to answer any questions that the council may have with respect to the proposed development that's on the agenda.
Is this on the corner lot?
Pacific?
No, this is down Johnston Avenue going towards Liberty State Park and the light rail station. Yeah, it's not the lot that fronts on Johnston. It's in off Johnston.
Adjacent to the rail tracks.
Right.
Sir.
Do me a favor.
Sir.
If you build there, you gotta have an archaeologist on site. I'm gonna tell you why. That's where Washington Irving did all his writing, at Garabrandt's house, right on that spot there. Also, there was, which may have been destroyed by the Central Railroad of New Jersey, the first African-American burial ground was in that area. There's a lot of history right there. So do me a favor, not bug you, believe me. You gotta have an archaeologist or somebody on site that knows what the hell is going on, because you're going deep.
Going pretty deep.
And
I went to Jersey, John Fiorito, not Fiorito, Fiorito.
John, spell your last name.
Fiorito, Fiorito. 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 Tomato, anything, however you want to say. Just 1 T.
1 T.
We all good now? So, went to the,
you brought it up.
all the projects that I do over the last 12 years, we try to look at the historical basis of the building itself. So the Baker Building, the Montauk House, I go back to the Jersey City Room in the library. I go up and talk to the people out there. We go through the Sanborn maps. Went back as far as, well, this property was actually deeded to John Van Horn by the King of Holland back in 17-something or other, right? I went through all the stuff on it. I looked for that. When the railroad went through that area, I used to call Clay Street right there back in the 1820s. Clay Street no longer exists, the railroad goes through there. I've looked at anything substantial over there and I couldn't find anything. But certainly as we start excavating for pile caps and things of that nature, I'll certainly look at it. But I do get into the history of stuff. I like looking back as we're looking forward, you know. I couldn't find anything historically significant on that site specifically.
On the site, on that whole area, as I said, Washington Irving spent a lot of time there. He did most of his writings there. You know, the cemetery, and then also you have, Garabrandt was well known. And if you, probably one of the most biggest ghost stories in the country is the legend of Abby Van Hoppen, which originated on Garabrandt Street.
So Councilman Richie Boja, every weekend to spend the time with a metal detector with that area. I just want to make sure, be careful.
I will read as much Washington Irving as.
All right.
They were best friends.
No, it's just a shame because when they built the Science Center, they destroyed, I got pictures going back to the 1800s. The Hudson River came right up to where the Science Center is. And there were big boats right there. And this history is all lost. And we got to start, that's why I'm hoping for the museum we're going to do. I have a lot of this archaeological stuff in my collection. I've been collecting it for 45, 50 years.
I told you, metal detector every day. That's a lot of clips. Thank you.
Any other questions?
No, Council President, no.
Thank you.
Just found one after
So,
3 months.
on the second reading ordinances, I have to update 4C with sponsors on the legislation. So if there was anyone else, I know that spoke with the councilman from Ward B. Is there any additional additions to that or any of the legislation. Okay, for top of the list on resolutions.
Sure, when we get there, Council President. I just noticed a typo that needed circling.
Oh, I'm sorry. My apologies. Before we proceed. So, it's my understanding, council people requested Director Williamson to address the council?
Danny had to leave, but,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it's kind of an interesting situation that we're here. I want to be on the record to say that I'm not against change. I think it's a misnomer, a misconception that the change that seems to be on the agenda is something that I'm against. Not so much against the change, but more so the inability or the overlooking of a situation that has been prevalent in the city for a long time, and that is continuity. It seems to happen, I think, or what I've noticed in the Department of Recreation is that the value and what it means to the city has gone down. We're not valuing the citizens, the children, by developing and giving them programs and continuity in the programming that we have promised to do, myself included. Just to give you guys a bit of background on who I am. I've been with Allstate Insurance Company for 30 years. I have a successful business. My business has been around for quite some time. I'm a businessman at heart. I've graduated. I know what I'm doing there. When I was asked to come here, I didn't petition for this job. When I was asked to come here, I was asked to come here in order to add a bit of continuity and professionalism to something that was seemingly going downhill. And that's something that I've heard from not only some of the existing council members, but also many of the employees and constituents and the community members of the 6 wards in the city. So when I came here, I lent my business acumen to a department, and I believe I turned it around. I've had a lot of meetings with the current business administrator, and I think he can attest to the fact that our budget from 2 years ago has changed, so much so that the first year when I asked for the budget to remain flat because I didn't understand it. Second year, when I was asked to lower the budget by 7%, I was able to do that as well as have a surplus. This year, I think I'm going into a budget, or I've prepared a budget that I think is going to be something that the city and the department can live with without, much of an increase, but an increase that we would have, which would continue the enrichment of the programs. I'm not here to ask for a job. Quite honestly, I've been, again, like I said, in business for, over 25 years, been with the company for 30 years. I'm here to implore you guys to take a look at what's happening. No disrespect to the council president, but when we talk about tradition, tradition is one thing. But as Councilman Yun said, continuity and the value to the citizens of this city is more important. And as we continue to take these traditionalist ideas and turn them into practice, we send a message to the employees, the citizens of our fair city, and I don't think that's fair. I've developed more than 25 programs. The advantage that I have, with no disrespect to Mr. Arthur Williams, the advantage that I have is I'm in the job. I do it every day. I left my office in Brooklyn in order to come here because I wanted to come here, not because I needed a job. So when I came here and I developed the programs and I inspired better morale in a department that you guys know as being citizens of this city, that department has always been looked at as a dumping ground. I don't have to pull any punches because I have no ulterior motives for anything. That department has been a dumping ground, and people in that department feel that they have been dumped upon. And as we continue to do these things, I believe wholeheartedly that we continue to send the same message to them over and over and over. When we can't get children at the forefront of our thoughts on a day-to-day basis, we send a message to them. When I put the programs together, it was with full understanding that we needed more professionalism. I went out and I developed programs from, and a lot of you guys know, sailing school, tennis, figure skating, ice skating, senior programs, whether it's cycling to ballroom dancing to making agreements with Hockey of New Jersey. And these programs I developed. I went down the line and I developed the relationships. And my advantage, once again, is that I have been in the job. His disadvantage is that he has not. Not to say that he is incapable of doing what we have already done, but the question remains as to why we continue to do the things that we do. I mean, Einstein, I guess, said it best. You know, if we continue to do the same thing and expect different results, then we're crazy. And I feel very strongly that what we're doing at this point, changing in midstream, is something that is not necessary. My commitment would be that when you make a change like this, that you put somebody in the position, because I've been there, and what I inherited was something that was really dysfunctional. And if this gentleman takes this position, he will at least have the advantage of having something that is a bit more controlled and a bit more efficient. But to change, as I said, in midstream and not give this gentleman an opportunity to get up to speed is going to be a disadvantage to him, and it will in turn be a disadvantage to his employees, and in turn be a disadvantage to you guys. And I, being a citizen of this city for 25 years, I guess, it'll be a disadvantage to me. My children are grown. You know, they are in college, about to graduate. But I've coached, and I've coached for 20 years. And I can show you my resume for coaching and mentoring and developing children and show you that every child, with the sake of maybe two, are all in college. And I'm talking about Penn State, I'm talking about Howard University, I'm talking about Johns Hopkins. I put those kids there because I was there to support and help them. And with the reason that happened is because I had continuity with them. I started with them when they were 7 years old, and I went with them until they were 18. And if we continue to not value those sorts of relationships by making changes when they're unwarranted, then we're going to have a problem. We're going to have a problem. And I have mentored and I want to put various things in place this year in order to continue the trajectory of where I've started. But again, if it's not to be, then it's not. And I'm okay with that. But I would not be okay if I did not have an opportunity to come down here and express my concerns as a citizen of Jersey City. Not as a director of Department of Recreation, but as a citizen of Jersey City. And that's who I am. Great.
This is a very crucial moment, not only council members and the people of Jersey City. As a council president, you as a council president, give that kind of opportunity to, can be current director, can be, not anymore, but those are opportunity to him to speak up, your issue, your concern, your department. It's very valuable. Really appreciate your effort. And I can say about you, one thing as councilman, City of Jersey City, the Pershing Field, we have ice skating. They only use their ice skating is for the ice skating. But after you be director, you bring up the most innovative idea, use their place as a summertime as a roller skater. Not only that, you add like $40,000, able to rent their roller skater to everybody. So that place maximize, utilize the ice skating for summertime roller skater and wintertime ice skating. You do that job, great job, deserve to keep your job more than anybody else, really. I can say that. But we know that as a director have to be served as a pledge with the mayor, but also council, we have a right to do that, whatever we believe the person is right for that department, and we can express our concern, the mayor's appointment, you know what I'm saying? So really, you do a great job. I can say it openly. You're the one of the person actually, no scandal and no noise make that department. Years ago, they have always some noise, you know what I'm saying? But I want to give to that credit to your leadership, you know?
To you all, I really truly hope, you know, in the bottom of my heart that your affection and how you feel about me personally does not weigh in on the job that I've done. If I have not done a job that is worthy of your support, then please don't support it. But I believe in my heart that I've done the best that I can at this point with a plan to go, you know, in the future. So, you know, again, once again, in all due, you know, consideration and respect to the council president, I don't think that that's what you guys are doing, and I would appreciate if you did not do that. If that's what you're doing, please don't do that. But rather look inside and see if the job that I've done is a job that's worthy of me continuing or worthy of me helping to train someone to continue what we're doing. Because if we don't look inside the department, and there's some great, smart people in there that have a heck of a lot of knowledge, and we're not even bothering to look there to see if we need to make a change, that's where I would start. If it's my business, I know my business, and when I have to change my office manager or my sales associates, I first look within, and then if I do not find it there, if they're not worthy of that change, then I look outside. So again, I just wanted to have my opportunity to speak to you. I know I've spoken to you guys individually to share, so I won't belabor any of those points. I've shared all the programs that we have had and the plans going in the future. So with that, again, I appreciate your time. Thank you.
All right, resolutions, council members. 10A is a resolution authorizing an emergency temporary appropriation. B is a resolution authorizing calendar year 2017 appropriation reserve transfers. C through G, all from the tax collector. C cancels tax overpayments or delinquent amounts less than $10. D, E, F, and G, cancel and refund tax sale certificates sold in error. H is a resolution to authorize the execution, H is a resolution to authorize the execution of a mortgage subordination agreement affecting the property at 7880 Stevens Avenue. We did I. J is authorizing a closed caucus of the council. Do I have the date right? February 13th? Tuesday.
Yeah, because we have no caucus. Yeah, Monday, it's a holiday Monday.
Oh, that's correct.
This will precede the caucus, and the law department, Jeremy in particular, the corporation counsel, will give an update on all pending litigation. As you know, he's been appointed to, is he doing that? Or?
I believe he is
I think he is,
continuing as corporation counsel. I think the effective date of his full-time appointment to MUA is delayed. I think that's, as I understand it, that way.
So I'm not sure what his effective date is, but it's sometime in mid-February, I believe, to be a full-time MUA director. So he's just going to give us an update on pending litigation.
Can I ask a quick procedural question for closed session? I assume the idea is that we're not allowed to speak about what we talk about in the session once it ends?
Not outside the room, and in fact, just a primer on the Open Public Meetings Act, the council should not be copying each other in emails and shouldn't be chatting amongst members of the council. Even 3 at a time could be problematic if we called a special meeting and only 5 people showed up and 3 people chatted about a piece of legislation they're the effective majority. You can pass a resolution 3 votes to 2. So the more you keep to yourself about your thoughts on the legislation, the better we all are.
That's counterintuitive to so much democracy in so many ways.
And I'm talking about amongst yourselves. In this room, feel free.
Right.
Go for it. In the council chambers, go for it. But don't be texting each other and emailing each other.
I'll rescind that. Sorry.
Okay. All right, K is asking the New Jersey Legislature to amend the statute, the Faulkner Act, to enable the council with municipalities with populations of 260,000 or more to appoint up to 4 aides and fix their salaries.
Now, Joanne.
Yes.
I want to change the 260 to 240 because based on our conversation where you found the numbers, it was in the estimate versus.
Correct. I had looked at the 2015 estimate, which is done in the middle of the decade, and that was put Jersey City at 263, I believe. But the actual 2010 census had the city at 243, so that number should be to 240. Well, whatever, yeah.
To pretty much the mayor and the assembly. But since we're just starting into the term, this is a time that we really need to speak about this, to be perfectly honest.
Yes.
If we don't press this issue, it will not happen, because we tried to do this before. So I'm just bringing it back, because I think we all could agree that we do feel like the aides need to be paid more.
Absolutely.
You know, we fight for everybody else to get more. I mean, we fight for our directors to get more money since I came here. We fight for the other staff members to get increases, but we have failed to fight for our aides to get any more money.
So in other words, you know, this council proved that this minimum payment pays that the city employees are $15 an hour, but meantime, our own aides pay actually $3-4 an hour job compared to what they provide service. Not only that, they what pay $15,000 a year is 25 years, never change.
Never.
I think that's wrong, and you know, that way to another way to you know to correct the problem. This is time. So I thank to Councilwoman Joyce Waterman, and we council all the members stuck together and bring to make sure that reality in the city council.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, they had enough money for raises this week, 20,000.
Authorizing the planning board to conduct a preliminary investigation of conditions of the Central Avenue Block 2901 study area for determination as an area in need of redevelopment, more specifically as a non-condemnation redevelopment area.
Councilman Young, this is your ward.
Yes, but fortunately or unfortunately, you know, I own the building in that the study area.
Now you have to be quiet.
So I'm going to be quiet.
Thank you. That is a wonderful, that's a wonderful, that sounds like a song.
Wonderful situation we have.
That sounds like a song to me.
We might get out of here tonight.
NNOP is a license agreement with Vaishno Ma Academy Street for the use of parking spaces at 165, 169 Academy Street.
Can I ask a question about P, correct me if I read it, is there no money being exchanged here? So why?
The developer is doing a favor for us to allow us to park there. It's not gonna be long-term. We're supposed to find parking for them
Well, you gotta tell the truth to James Solomon.
He asked the question, I answered it truthfully.
No, come on.
All right,
We're gonna explain it later on.
Not everything could be a history lesson.
Real quick, did you want to give a quick synopsis?
Yeah, quick. Because the parking across the municipal code, the city of just sold a lot to the developer. So they like usually use it, the parking for the space, parking space for the people work, the employees also. But they have a labor contract between employee and the city of Jersey. City of Jersey have to do our best to provide a parking space. But we stole the lot. So people walk the court, no place to park, especially you know that area. So they come out with the developer, provide another is the parking lot, free, no charge, as good gesture, you know. But I hope instead of countries 1 year, we should be 10 years, 20 years country.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I see what you're getting at.
All right, Q is authorizing the payment of common expenses relating to the 6 city-owned residential condominium units located at 311 Washington Street.
Yeah.
What's happening with
Joanne,
this?
what's our
Yeah.
status? Joanne, are we over this?
I'm sorry, which
311
one is this?
Washington is the 6 condos.
Yes, I think we needed
Pull
to
it?
pull it because we need to get an explanation from the outside attorney.
Being withdrawn?
Yes,
Okay, good.
until the next meeting.
Okay. We did R all the way to Z2. Z3 is authorizing an extraordinary unspecifiable services contract with NW Financial Group, LLC, to provide financial advisory services.
Okay.
We have you, Mike Hanley here.
Mike Hanley from NW is here. That's
Yes. Who is here?
Mike Hanley.
Mike Hanley.
Come on up, Michael.
Mike, coming up. Hanley, for this.
Mike's firm's been with us for a few years now.
How are you? Mike Hanley from NW Financial Group.
Yes. Hire your NW Financial Group, actually looking for service for financial advisor, provide the financial advisor service in the city of Jersey City. That's great, because we have no professional person to give to, make our own advice to the city of Jersey City. It's okay, nothing wrong with that, because financial field is very complicated. We need some educated professional people help us. But I have a concern is that you, as a financial advisor, to make an independent advisor city of Jersey City. But one of the issue, bond. You guys gonna look at the bond, yes, you're gonna issue bond or not, but every time you issue bond, you guys make, your consulting company make 0.1 percentage of bond. So when I look at it, it's a conflict of interest. So in other words, Councilwoman Joyce Waterman gonna be make advice to the independent advisor, but every time I ask her, can I buy this one? She say, yes. Then she make a commission of that. I say, wait a minute, then what is the sense to have independent advisor service to have?
Well, they don't tell us to issue debt. We, as the administration, make a decision to issue $30 million in debt.
Based on our decision maker, based on your recommendation, yes, you can. I'm sorry?
You issue debt when you need money, right? We don't tell you how much money you need. I mean, you have capital programs and you need a certain amount of dollars that you don't want to pay for out of your operating budget. We advise you on the best way to issue that debt. So we don't say, oh, you should issue more or issue less.
Issue bond.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Issue bond.
Yes.
You make extra, then what we pay for $125,000.
Okay.
Councilman-
But the, yeah.
So what is it pay? $125,000 we're gonna pay you every year.
What he gets paid when he does work for us. He's not guaranteed $125,000. If we don't use him at all this year, he gets nothing. That's the contract amount to start. So it's based on the hourly rates you see on the resolution.
Your company charges based on case by case.
Right. And councilman, what they do is also keep their eye on the market and tell us when to go in.
Right.
And when the interest rate is favorable to us, to get into the market and get a favorable interest
We
rate.
work with the rating agencies.
Yeah, Mike's team's been critical in getting our credit upgrades the last 4 years.
You know,
Mike's right there at the table with us.
We are, you know, in my opinion, the gold standard in New Jersey for this business. We're also located here in Hudson County. We've been in our current, NW Financial's been in existence for over 20 years. We represent over 100 municipalities in the state of New Jersey. I would tell you, you know, no one knows this space, particularly this space as it relates to Jersey City and Hudson County, the way we know it, and we represent you in front of the rating agencies, in front of investors, in front of underwriters, and in front of the financial community generally, because that's our expertise. But we don't, if you don't need money, if Bob never picks up the phone and calls and says, we're doing these projects, we need 5 million, 10 million, whatever the amount is, then we sit at our desk and do nothing, for you.
Because of the advice that you provide us on our credit rating directly implies to how much we can bond for. So isn't there at least some degree in which the advice you're giving us about our credit rating has some influence over what we bond for?
Well, I mean, the advice we're giving you is hopefully leading to a better credit rating, which lowers your cost of funds. So I guess you can borrow more principal because your interest rate is lower. That's certainly a possibility, but I don't think that's the way you make decisions, right? You make decisions saying these roads need to be paved or these buildings need improvements, and you do the best you can to fit them into a budget that doesn't unnecessarily burden the taxpayer. I think all of your goals collectively is to provide a very high level of service at the lowest possible cost, and I think the work we do assists in getting to that lowest possible cost, but I wouldn't say we spend a lot of time trying to get you to borrow more or less. I mean, you have needs that exist whether or not we exist.
I think the question here is whether basis points as opposed to like an hourly rate, that work. Is basis points the normal, is that the standard in the industry, I guess, around that?
So what is that? Which allocate like a conflict of interest, even though we pay a little higher fee, but NW Finance.
It should not feel like a conflict of interest because it is not that. I mean, if I said, Bob, you should borrow a lot more because I make more money, Bob would say, Mike, you're fired. I mean, that's not the way you and your team do business, and it's not the way we do business. It is.
Every capital.
When you get to a point where you need the funds after the ordinances are authorized, then you borrow them. But we're not here proposing capital projects to you. You have many city departments that determine what your capital needs are.
One time I asked invoice for the financial advisor service. I see that a lot of items, every time we give to a tax abatement project, City of Jersey called your company, asked that financial advisor about that pilot program. You guys give your advice, and they charge for that service.
Yeah, I mean you're not even. It's certainly not on every financial agreement. Although whatever your decisions are inside of that are your decisions when you need help or don't need help. But those should be being paid by developer escrows, and you presumably want a professional that has as much market knowledge as the developer or the developer's professionals.
What kind of advice do you give the City of Jersey for tax abatement?
When we're brought in on a tax abatement, we take a look at the costs, the revenues, and the capital markets to try and determine terms that are most favorable to the city. And we have helped projects move on, and you voted on them, and we've stopped projects. And because the developer never came to what the administration and our advice felt was a fair deal for the city, the best deal for the city.
We get from the NW Finance Company, every pilot program, whatever we call them, ask that some financial advisor. Do we get from that NW Finance any opinion statement for the tax abatement?
Yeah, I mean, there's certain, not every project, but there are more complex deals. I think the NGCU they're involved with, the Journal Square project. Deputy Mayor Marcos Vigil had worked with them directly on those projects, and there were reports given to him and Dave Donnelly as the deals were being put together.
I think it would be fair to say, and you can correct me, that we have worked on projects that were outside of the policy or needed some kind of special assistance as it relates to redevelopment area bonds or special contributions to the city. But I don't know how many programs you approve in a year, but we probably work on 3 or 4 as a general rule of the maybe 10 or 12 or 15. I don't know. I mean, you guys could.
That's what the application The developer really does pay for it indirectly, but that's why we have the application fees that we do. That is to, yes, and that is to cover in part the cost of securing that kind of advice on something of such a long duration, of something of such controversy. We do want to make sure we're getting the best deal that we can. And they have been, instrumental in doing that, providing that help to us, especially for projects that are a little unusual, like the college setup, when we had, there were improvements to be made to the streets that normally we may have either done ourselves totally, or made the developer do it completely. And so when somebody says, well, the project won't support that kind of an improvement, it's very important for us to be able to look to somebody in the financial field to make sure they review the application and test that conclusion or that statement. And he has been very good to do that for the city.
Then can we have, whatever city of Jersey ask an opinion, any project, can we copy of the statement from your company, attach the documentation?
I'm not sure.
So whatever project we ask them to advise during the certain project.
The application, you're asking for their opinions to be included as part of the application.
Whatever city asks you.
So it's more from our side to make sure we include that.
Yes, of course. That's fine, but you have this cost-benefit analysis that's done by the tax collector, that was created at your request, that really, to be perfectly honest, doesn't make a whole lot of sense in some areas. And then on top of that burden, now we're asking for this, which, we can give you whatever it is you want, but at a certain point, maybe you want to think about what you really need to make this kind of a decision. And then, because it's killing trees and just spending a lot of money that maybe isn't necessary.
Why don't we try it out and see what kind of information it produces?
Try a couple of times. If it doesn't work, you can have it. If it works, continues by, your statement for the certain
So in addition to what the collector does too, all those complicated
I think they don't know they're not familiar
spreadsheets.
with what's being produced as far as fiscal analysis.
Well, he does, because that goes to the council every time, that spreadsheet that's done by the collector.
NW Financial is doing.
Oh, to
They're
add
not
that
familiar with
too.
Yeah.
Because of the other chart what we have, or previous budget, you heard that. Tax assessor, financial data approvers, but you as a separate, as a third party.
I think we do it different.
Yeah.
We look at it from a different.
Thank you very much.
That might be useful, and we're happy to provide that.
If we're all good, we can be out of here at 9 o'clock. We're up to Z5. It's a professional service with Corella Byrne, and Byrne is the former and departed governor of our state, Brendan Byrne, his law firm, Chechi, Olstein, Brody, and Agnello, to represent the city in matters of litigation to address the marketing and sales of addictive opioids in the city of Jersey City.
Quick note.
Go ahead, Jim.
Sorry.
No, go ahead, because
Is this Joanne? Is this you? Z5?
Yeah.
Just a quick note, when I was reading through it, I didn't see, it sounds like they basically collect 25% of anything that they get coming back. And the only thought I had was, like, I was reading it, I was just thinking about the tobacco settlements from the 90s that just ballooned, that nobody expected they were going to be that big. So does it make any at all sense for the city to have some sort of like protection that you get 25% up to a certain number, or just something in case this opioid thing becomes the next tobacco thing?
I will definitely. I spoke to the attorney who had prepared this just this afternoon about this contingency fee arrangement, and he was going to do a little more research between now and Wednesday. I did have some questions myself, just on a general, whether the city can enter into a contingency fee agreement, but that's a good point. I do believe that he did say to me he had looked at adding some protections into the agreement for the city, but I will make sure that that was done. I didn't look at it very carefully, but I will.
And if I could just add a question on that, which is, what happens if there's an opportunity to enter into another lawsuit on the similar issue with like New York City at the lead, or something like that, where they might have a little more punch?
Well, I will look at that, what happens in the event the city determines to terminate the agreement. You pretty much have the right to terminate your agreement with attorneys pretty freely. You're entitled to the counsel of your choice. But what the consequence of that is, I will have to confirm for you, whether there's some payment to them. The other question is, when other people then sign on to this agreement, onto this lawsuit, will that in any way,
Yep.
right, if it converts to a class action at some point, what impact would that have? So he did seem to have a good handle on it, so maybe I'll ask him even to either come or to outline some of these things for you.
Okay, very simply, we have 3 resolutions that we gave you at the last minute. We're discharging a mortgage at 211 Monticello.
Yeah.
Okay, right, that's correct. I didn't put my little dot next to it. Z7 appeared at the last meeting. It came off because it did not have a purchase order. So Career Builders employment screening for new employees. And Z8, at the request of the council president, we're waiving the 20 days on the robotic garages. Would someone kindly sing the sweetest song at 8:52? 8:52 by Councilperson Waterman, seconded by Councilperson Robinson. Say, Councilperson Ridley to adjourn. To adjourn. Prinzeri? Baggiano? Baggiano to return. Yes. Yun? Yes. Solomon? Robinson? Waterman? President. We're out of here. Thank you. This meeting is adjourned at 8:52.